Goes from first. Silas Ardoin's throw does not get him, and Targach scores from third, and Thompson stays on the bag. Insurance for Texas A&M here in the seventh.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral pumps. Pressure again, and they get to him. That was Cole Maxwell.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Option look. Sanders keeps it, makes the cut. First down, still running. Spencer Sanders all the way to the house. A crucial touchdown for Oklahoma State to fight back 37 yards.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Throws it down the field. It's caught at the 10, and this game is over. The Cowboys win it. C.D. Lamb.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go as we start this June 20th on a Monday. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Full throttle behind us today with Jack McKenzie, Garrett Ross, Levi Caraway, and also Emery Winter. And a couple of quick notes. We'll have Ross Dellenger from SI.com here. He'll join us in just a moment on just mainly talking about college football. Actually, let's talk about teams and games and top 25 and Heisman Trophy and whatever else. But Baylor has just received a couple of commitments. One of them is from Bryson Washington, who was a star player at Franklin High School, just southeast of here, on a state championship team. And then also Jaron Woods, who's at LaGrange, is yet another one. That just happened. Grayson is going to join us today in about an hour from Sikkim365.com, our recruiting analyst, to kind of look back at the weekend that Baylor had. And this is part of that, the fumes of that, from having the official weekend, with more, of course, around the country and even with Baylor as well. All right, College World Series, Stanford 2-1 over Auburn in an elimination game. A&M and Oklahoma both advance from what they were able to do with emphatic victories over Notre Dame and Texas as well. The U.S. Open. What a finish the U.S. Open was. That's part of what we'll get to as well today, and we'll do all that here momentarily as well. Baylor announces that, in fact, Mitch Thompson will be introduced on Thursday at the Baylor Club as the new baseball coach. We'll have him Friday at around 3:20 here on Sikkim 365 Radio. Now, I want to start with this as well. That's just kind of a summary. Garrett, the Big 12 odds from Circus Sports. I'm not sure if anyone has seen this. This is, initially there was an odds that were put up from the Big 12 that were all out of whack, and it just didn't make much sense. And so somebody directed me, this is Circus Sports. It's a gambling business. Here are the odds in the Big 12 to win it. Not to finish third, fifth. This is to win the championship. Oklahoma at the top, Texas number 2, Baylor at 3, Oklahoma State 4, Iowa State, then Kansas State. Kansas State in the other one was way down, like at number 8. TCU Tech, West Virginia, who was way up in the other one, at 9. And KU at the bottom at plus 27,000.
I'm putting all my money into KU. And then I'm going to buy my ski chalet.
Just like the Kentucky Derby horse,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. No, I mean, I'm not surprised to see Texas there. It happens all the time. And look, they might be a lot better. And again, I'm going to make this point, is not to pile on them, but I think these expectations are just not fair for them. I mean, I don't think they're coming from Steve Sarkisian. I don't think they're coming from Texas itself, really. It's just coming from, it's kind of the lazy thing, like, oh, Texas has to be good eventually. Well, let them get there, and then we can talk about it. Oklahoma, everything's going to be new there. So, I mean, to me, I just kind of lean towards Baylor and Oklahoma State, both returning a bunch of people, and from the teams that played in the championship game last year. Oklahoma's had a lot of turnover, so it wouldn't surprise me to see them take a dip, not a big one, but a little bit, where they might lose another game or so that they didn't last year. But again, this is the offseason, and that's why you wildly speculate.
That's interesting to see. I don't know what that first list looked like that you're referring to. What was so out of whack about it?
They had Oklahoma plus 150, Texas 225, so they were 1 and 2. Oklahoma State was next, West Virginia 4. Of course, the transfer quarterback maybe has something to do with that, JT Daniels. Baylor 5, Iowa State, TCU, Kansas State down at 8, Texas Tech and Kansas. It was the differences. It was like big, huge gaps in that first one. But this one seems to have, not because of anything where Baylor is or West Virginia is, it seems to be a little bit more cohesive of what most people would think. And again, these are the odds they're trying to make you bet or get you to bet on what is out there.
Man, I'm an Oklahoma fan, but I'm not as sold on year one with Venables as everybody else seems to be. A lot of people seem to think that they're just going to not, drop off or miss a lick, and I'm not totally convinced of that. I mean, I think there's been kind of this almost bulletproof nature about them now for quite a while, where it's very rare to see them drop a conference game, right? It's very rare to see them even lose to their rivals very often, and that's just been kind of the MO, and every year it's just, hey, I can't believe, how do you not vote OU number one every single year? Last year, seem to recall a national, reporter, knocking those who didn't pick Oklahoma to win the conference last year. What happened? I don't know if he had a follow-up article on that. I doubt that he did. But it is kind of the default thing to do, and it's default to put Texas at number 2 because, like Paul said, eventually they're going to be right. It's just that it doesn't mean as much when you've been doing it for 15 years in a row and you've been right like twice by doing that, So I understand the hype, but again, it's an off-season poll. I think to not have Baylor or Oklahoma State right there at the top, I think would be a mistake, because I think that both of those teams are going to be really good. And given where they were last year, I understand that UT and OU had their issues that are hopefully corrected for them, but Baylor and Oklahoma State are out there getting better as well. I mean, they're not just sitting on their hands going, well, we had the team we had last year and we'll just be that. I mean, no, they're both getting better too. So I think it's very interesting to see kind of the way some people are going the same old, let's just assume it's Oklahoma and let's put Texas there and maybe we'll be right this time. And there's those that are like, hey, watch out for Baylor and Oklahoma State. I think you got to watch out for K-State. I think that Iowa State's getting a whole lot of just quiet time right now where there's not a lot of hype, and that's probably what's best for them after last year. So it's a very interesting year for the conference. People want to make a big deal out of the odds. That's entirely up to them. I don't try to get too out of whack about that, because I understand that they're there in part to get people kind of crazy and also to spend their money in Vegas on these odds. But that's interesting. It's interesting, and it's interesting to see just kind of how all over the place people think the conference is as far as the top.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting on Oklahoma in that the reason that it's easy to pick them number 1 every year was because they had, of all the rest of the teams in the conference, they had zero turnover, or there was no tumultuous offseason for them. The biggest thing that happened for them was Bob Stoops left and Lincoln Riley stepped in, but it was the most seamless transition possibly in the history of college football coaching. I mean, it just worked, and it worked right away because Lincoln Riley was the guy who he is on the rise at the time, and this is a lot different. This isn't just, they've got another guy from the Stoops tree. Well, he hasn't been there in a decade or so almost. It's been a long time since Brent Venables was there. He's not been a head coach before, so there's going to be, I'm sure, a little bit of a learning curve for him on that. They're installing a new offense, although it's similar, and half their team transferred out, and they have new players in. There's a lot of things that don't normally happen to Oklahoma in the offseason that happened to them this offseason. So to me, while I think it would, Dylan Gabriel's a good quarterback and there's a lot of good things they have going on, let's just see how it all meshes together for the first time.
Yeah, and putting them there, it's not like there's, it's really enticing people to bet. You're not going to make much money off of them. Yeah. It's a safe bet to make, and I understand why. They've ruled the conference, they've ruled the roost, but I have the same questions. It's like, he's a head coach for the first time. I don't care how prepared he is. Like, you don't know how that's going to go. I understand. Well, Levy and Gabriel, they did this thing, 2 years ago. Okay, well, it's different though. Like, is Dylan Gabriel going to be healthy all year? Like, there's question marks. So they're going to be really good. And obviously, I'm a fan, but I do have my questions about them. I don't think it's just automatic that they're the best team, but there seem to be quite a few people that do. So, it'll be fun to see that actually out on the field.
I do have one other college football note as far as recruiting earlier today. Carnell Tate, 5-star wide receiver from IMG Academy in Florida, committed to play for Ryan Day at Ohio State. That was a note from earlier today as well. We'll update you on the College World Series as it progresses. We have two different writers, reporters who are covering the College World Series. Ryan Brauninger, who covers A&M. John Hoover, who covers Oklahoma. Both of them winning yesterday. They'll join us in the 5 o'clock hour. And then an interesting, unique segment with Jay Yelas, former Bassmaster champion back in 2003. He's a Bass Fisherman Hall of Famer. On an event we always publicize, Cast for Kids. We'll have him today at around 4:45. And we're going to start to look back over the next maybe week or two on occasion. Former Baylor players that maybe were overshadowed a little bit. Derek Turner today, former Baylor defensive end, will join us. He now runs a company in Oklahoma, a real estate company. He'll join us. He was a part of the early 80s under Grant Tapp. Derek Turner today at 3:45. But we'll have Ross Dellenger break here, Paul, and come back with Ross.
Yeah.
We'll come back today. We want to get a lot of feedback, need a lot of feedback, and always look forward to your feedback on the chat room, 365 Sports, also on Twitter with all of our Twitter handles, and then, of course, also the text line, 254-339-1122. Hope you had a great weekend as we start this day, this Monday. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. If you have a muscle or you think you have a ligament that's damaged or your orthopedic surgeon feels like there's something there and x-ray won't find it, whatever they try to do, they can't quite make sure it's what is damaged. Ideal MRI is where you can go to get an MRI and get it for $497 or less every single time, and they'll find it. They'll find what damage there is to a muscle or to a ligament or something else. And so then they will get that information, put it up in the portal. Your orthopedic surgeon can look at it, whether it's in your shoulder, possibly your knee, or elsewhere. And I've told you the story about an abdomen. Get an MRI on your abdomen if you've had any kind of issues in the family with prostate cancer. Spoke with somebody else today who's had somebody dealing with prostate cancer. And maybe you want to just see if your prostate looks the way it's supposed to look or if there's any kind of concerns when it comes to anything that's built up within your system in your abdomen. It's Ideal MRI, $497 or less every single time at idealmri.com.
Jeep Freedom Days are going on now at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 Impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months, plus $4,000 competitive bonus cash. That's right, and $4,000 bonus cash. This incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm, welcome home.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go, this 3 o'clock hour. We're now joined by Ross Dellenger, SI.com, covers the heck out of college athletics and college football as well, and joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Ross, thank you very much. We're going to try to talk about the game, football itself, the teams, the Heisman Trophy candidates, and I'm sure we'll get into the business as well, because I saw you have a new note that's up as well. Do you feel like sometimes we kind of even, there's so much going on, we get away from just the sport itself?
Yeah, that's kind of what college sports has become. You know, we're right in the middle of what I would call the biggest evolution probably in college sports history. We're kind of right in the middle of it. It's probably 5-7 years of change, and we're a year or two in. And so it's hard sometimes, especially in the off season, to focus on the teams and the coaches and the players when you have so much change going on around them, from NIL to NCAA government transformation to just the future of the NCAA and college sports and athlete compensation and athlete employment. It just goes on and on. So I find myself being behind a little bit on knowledge about actual teams, and need to read up on Phil Steele. Actually, I need to just order his magazine so I can kind of brush up.
Ross, I mean, obviously Ohio State and Alabama return the best quarterbacks, and they've got, years of kind of deep churning the roster behind them. But outside of them, there's a lot of teams you could say are vying for, who are going to be the other two teams in the playoffs. Which teams kind of jump out at you as somebody who can make a move this year?
Well, I think, like you said, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, in a way, every year, those have kind of been the solid four. And you every now and then you got that burst of a 1 year burst from a team, like a Notre Dame in that mix, or LSU, And so you kind of wonder, or Michigan last year, you do kind of wonder who's going to be that kind of new team to join the fray. Would there be any kind of 1 year burst from anybody else? And it's always hard to kind of pick that team, but I think you have to look at like a Texas A&M and maybe even a Utah or a USC. Even under first-year coach Lincoln Riley, you can change a roster over so quickly now with the one-time transfer movement and transfer portal and all that. Maybe he can do it within a year. So those are kind of the group that I could see squeezing in there. And then there are the real dark horses, right? Like maybe like a NC State or Miami, even again a first-year coach that is in the middle of completely overhauling. It seems like his roster.
Ross, if you had to put money behind either OU here in this first year with Brent Venables or Texas with Steve Sarkisian and, Quinn Ewers and the transfer portal and all that, and both have benefited from the portal, but who would you have more confidence behind?
Well, OU lost quite a bit, many of them in LA with USC. Mm-hmm. So I probably would go with the Longhorns, and they showed a lot of promise the first half of last year before kind of falling off there. So in Sark, having an extra year, another year on Brent Venables, I would probably go with the Longhorns, but that's not an easy decision, and that is obviously going to be, as it always is, a really, really big game that year between those two teams. And it feels like, even though it's only year two, I believe, right, for Sark, it feels like it's so much bigger, that game. It feels like it's almost a make or, you hate to say make or break, but that's kind of how it feels. And maybe that one just feels that way all the time.
How much, if you looked at where Dave Aranda is on the respect level as a head coach, not as a defensive mind or defensive coordinator, in a matter of a year, how much has he vaulted up the charts of head coaches, in your opinion?
Well, very quickly, right? Yeah, I mean, it's I think everybody had, and you mentioned it there, everybody had respect for Dave Aranda as a defensive coordinator and a defensive mind. I think there was some real, and I think I've said it on your show before, I think there was some real doubt that Dave Aranda could be a head coach in a successful head coach, be that guy that, removes, is not in the dark room drawing up plays where he's known to be so good, but maybe somewhere where he's not often thought of in the spotlight, at the podium, recruiting and all that stuff. But, and I met with him back in March. I visited Waco, and I met with him and some of the staff. And it's pretty incredible kind of the metamorphosis that he's made. I mean, he hasn't changed completely. He still is uncomfortable at times, I think, in those settings, but he knows it's part of it. And I think he's used his strengths to kind of lift up, so to speak, his weaknesses. And it's been fairly remarkable to watch. And obviously the season they had this past year, and I covered the Big 12 championship game, it was incredible. And just the whole run, it was fun to watch. And for a guy like Dave Aranda, as I wrote from that Big 12 championship game, Dave and I met in the locker room just for a few minutes after that game, and just talking through about the times that, he's got, a lot of coaches have stories of coming from the bottom, and reaching kind of the summit, a Power 5 conference championship as a head coach. But man, Dave really has an incredible story that goes back to his days, getting fired at 2 or 3 places, being stuck on Hawaii as a fired coach, and maybe even thinking about going to the high school level. All that was just like 13, 14 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. So it's an incredible story.
Ross, I'm looking forward to asking Dave about this the next time we talk to him. He clearly was adverse to the spotlight, but as you just explained, he had to kind of get used to it. Now that he's been under it and, at a pretty high level, obviously, do you think he's found himself enjoying it, or do you think he's still as adverse to that spotlight as ever before?
Oh, I think he's uncomfortable. I wouldn't say averse as much, but I do think it's still uncomfortable for him, and he just has to. I think he has to. He's learned at least how to get used to the uncomfortable, get comfortable with the uncomfortable, so to speak. And I think that's how it has to be. We talked in March, and I haven't been so kind of inundated with a lot, as we talked about earlier, a lot of the off the field stuff that I haven't even written the story. But when we sat down, he gave some just really compelling quotes about how all the difficulties he had socially, just speaking to people, and I think he still does have those difficulties, but he's overcome some of that, and I think his wife has about that. His wife's kind of the opposite of him in a lot of those regards. So she's helped him a lot at Dion, and I think people around him, assistants and stuff, kind of taking up the mantle, so to speak, on some of that as well. But I do think he's still made uncomfortable by it, but he knows it's part of it, and I think he's crossed a lot of hurdles.
Yeah, it is interesting, though, Ross, to see in kind of an era now because of social media and everything you have to do. Brian Kelly's got to do videos dancing with guys, all those things you have to do. I'm not trying to knock Brian Kelly, but it is such a different thing. It's where Dave Aranda, if you asked him to do a video dancing with somebody, he'd be like, absolutely no, that's not. We'll take a still photo by the picture of the Big 12 championship. That's good enough for me, and that stuff just doesn't register with him.
No, it doesn't. Yeah, I can't imagine Dave doing any dancing, whether it's to get a recruit or personally at somebody's wedding or something. I just can't. Be the furthest thing that would happen. I think is Dave ran on the dance floor, but it is. It's you can. I think Dave probably is proving, and he has certainly there's just a 2-year sample size here, but he's proving that you can do it. You can be a head coach at a major conference team, despite having some hurdles that you have to overcome in the personal kind of social environment. But it's been impressive to see what he's done at Baylor, and I'm sure what he'll continue to do.
Ross, off the field, there's a lot going on, as we've referenced and you've referenced a couple of times. One thing that you had out there last week was about the transfer portal and the transfer windows. It was a bit light on details because they don't have details right now. But in the end, what did this really signify and kind of mean as far as moving forward with the transfer portal and these potential windows?
Yeah, you're definitely going to have transfer windows. They're going to be probably finalized by the end of July, maybe into August. And what you'll have is, for football at least, you'll probably have two transfer windows, times that players can enter the portal and then receive that extra year, that immediate eligibility. And if you enter outside of those windows, you don't receive that immediate eligibility. So there'll be one at the end of the regular season. There'll probably be 3 weeks or so long. Then there'll be one at the end of the spring semester, starting in like mid to late April, and then it'll be 2 or 3 weeks long as well. So that's kind of the proposals. I still think they're ironing out some details and such, but one thing is for sure, you will almost certainly have transfer windows coming to the portal by the fall.
Ross, I don't have the numbers, and I'm not putting you on the spot, but of those who do transfer or have transferred after May the 1st, I don't know if it's been 5 or 100. How many of them on percentage do you think are getting the waiver, and it doesn't really matter about May the 1st?
That's a good question. I think what what you're going to end up seeing probably is this one-time transfer exception is going to end up being anytime transfer exception, where players can move freely whenever they want, however many times they want during their careers. I do see that coming down the pipe because of exactly what you're talking about, where there's the waiver system for those who, right now you kind of have a window, right? You got to enter before May 1, or you're not eligible the next fall immediately to play unless you have a waiver. And I am not. It's a great question because I don't know, and the NCAA often does not share those facts of how many waivers have been approved and how many have been sent in. But I'll tell you, if you get a player who has a lawyer and who is denied a request to transfer, you could see them that becoming a big lawsuit in it becoming the anytime transfer exception and not one time. That's almost certainly going to happen at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I don't know who it was, a recent athlete. They were like, I could go ahead and move out. Doesn't matter. They're not going to turn us down, or we're going to get a waiver. They're scared that they could turn us down, and then there's a lawsuit. And it seems like it's just a constant cycle of really just open, free system. And I'm not against movement or the NIL. You got to almost clarify that. It just seems like there's got to be.
There's always talk about rules, and there's just ultimately not going to be really a rule in place. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be pretty open and free movement eventually in college sports, which is going to lead, probably, unfortunately, to a lot of poor decisions. Probably, I know when I was 18 and 20 years old, I made poor decisions, and I'm thinking there's going to be probably a lot of hard lessons. But we're in an age of athlete empowerment, and athletes should have these privileges probably, and they a lot of them have gotten lawyers and such, and that's not such a bad thing, but there are going to probably be some bad decisions and regretful mistakes. But as they say, learn from your mistakes. So I'm sure there will be a lot of that.
Well, and that's probably what will ultimately lead to collective bargaining, right? Because schools will get tired of having to redo the whole roster every year and will want some sort of stability, and they'll finally have to just acquiesce on that, wouldn't you think?
Probably. Collective bargaining gets complicated because a lot of states have laws against bargaining collectively and unionization, especially a lot of southern states. So that can get a little complicated. To regulate the NIL space and the transfer movement and everything, to bring some regulation to it, the answer most people would say is collective bargaining. And so you feel like that probably is in the future at some point. There are just kind of some hurdles that stand in the way of that.
Ross, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. Ross Dellenger again with us, SI.com, a great college football writer, and is all over a lot of the off-the-field stuff that we discussed as well. And we appreciate him jumping on with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Derek Turner, former Baylor defensive end, will join us in about 15 minutes or so. Auburn has now taken the lead on Stanford, 5-2, I think it is, in the sixth. And so that's an updated elimination game between those two teams as well. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got my car back from Richard Carr just the other day. They said it would take 5 to 8 days, and it took 5 to 8 days exactly. And when I got my car back, it was in better shape than certainly when I dropped it off, which is what was supposed to happen, but looked better than, I don't know, even before it got dinged up. I don't know what they did exactly other than repair what they were supposed to repair, but they not only fixed what was wrong, but they cleaned it up a little, and it looked better when I got it back. And it's been nice to drive it, and it's been nice to be back in my vehicle and not be, I don't know about if embarrassed is the word, but be aware of this hanging piece of plastic on the side of my car from when it got dinged up. It's all good now. It looks great. And the good folks over at Richard Carr did a fantastic job. So if you are somebody who is not only in the market for a vehicle, but you want to make sure that who you buy it from is going to give you a great deal and also take care of you after the fact, well, I can vouch that Richard Carr will do that for you. They will not only take care of you deal-wise, but they will also take care of you in terms of customer service. They are the best when it comes to that, and I've had many dealings with them, not only doing commercials for them, but also having my car in there a couple of times, and the customer service has been top-notch. But right now, step up your ride at their summer savings event. Find summer savings like 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month. They've got the 2017 Buick Encore if you're looking for a SUV for $183 a month, or a 2018 GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Their vehicles all go through a 172-point inspection, and they'll pay top dollar for your trade, as 100% credit approval is always their goal. So if you're looking to get into a car right away, those are some of the offerings for you as far as the new and the used and pre-owned vehicles. But if you're looking to buy new, well, give them a call or go by the dealership. Get in touch with them however you want to, email, phone call, in person, as I mentioned, and tell them you want to get on that inbound vehicle list. Tell them the brand new car, truck, or SUV that you've identified that you want. They'll get the details for you, and they'll get you on that inbound vehicle list. And what that does is basically put you in line to be up first when that car, truck, or SUV of your dreams is set to arrive. So whether you're looking to buy new or pre-owned, they've got great deals for you and great customer service to follow as well. Check them out online, richardcarmotors.com, or go see them off Highway 6, the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe, with locations in Waco and Bryan, and at pioneersboys.com.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
U.S. Open was won by young man Fitzpatrick out of England, and it was a remarkable final round, very similar. Although Rory McIlroy was pretty much always in control, there was still with Tony Finau and Justin Thomas the week before at the RBC Canadian Open. What a finish. Scottie Scheffler made a run. McIlroy was hanging around but just couldn't quite put things together. Rahm butchered 18 on Saturday and never seemed to get over that. And then, of course, Fitzpatrick out dueling Will Zalatoris yet again, close to winning a major, but just a little bit short. So Matt Fitzpatrick, a guy that won there as an amateur, wins at Brookline, the country club in Brookline, Massachusetts. But this is the course I thought. There have been some U.S. Open courses that have been so tricked up, it's ridiculous. There was one, I forgot where it was, they would not water the greens, and on par 3, you could not put it on the green. There was sometimes, even as good as it is, Pinehurst has been silly. There have been some that are just so diced up, the rough's so bad. Now, there was rough, but it was like 3 or 4 cuts of it. So here is how frustrating. This is Grayson Murray, who shot an 80 yesterday. Here's one picture. This is him hitting a shot. Obviously, plus 15. Looks like a night. I love that shot tracker. I just love that feature. And he's just a little bit short, all right? So, watch him. Bam! Like a baseball player who strikes out and breaks the bat. Of course, a golf course, a lot.
Hope he didn't need that one later.
Well, at 15 over, it wouldn't have mattered. As long as you don't break your putter, you could always chip with all sorts of. Now, that was one. Here's another.
The frustration there coming out of Grayson Murray.
He had himself a day.
Yeah, he doesn't want any of his clubs anymore.
Yeah, he's just going to
want them. You know what I
thought?
thought?
Well, he get them for free anyway because he's got some deal. But
you know what I thought yesterday? Scottie Scheffler was in the clubhouse at 5 over. It was one shot back.
5 under.
Or 5 under. 5 under. At 5 under. And I got to think that in the clubhouse, one shot off the lead, hoping for something tragic to happen to another golfer, is the most tense and awkward feeling maybe in all of sports, because there's nothing you can do about it.
Nope.
You just have to sit there and, I guess you would probably compare, like, if you're like a figure skater or a gymnast or a diver in the Olympics, and you had this great dive that you possibly couldn't, duplicate again, but you're done, and then you have like the next closest person to your challenger's coming up. So I guess it's probably like that. But yeah, I would just sit there white knuckling it the whole time.
Yeah, and he played well. He butchered, I forgot what hole it was. He double bogeyed a hole. Was it on Friday that knocked him out? And I'm going to get the days mixed up. But that was how frustrating that course was playing. And it wasn't because it was tricked up. It was very fair. It was almost to a man. Even those who didn't play well. Normally there's a player or 2 or 5 that kind of chirp a little bit. That one, it seemed like it was fair. If you hit it in the fairway or even in the first cut, you're fine. You hit it somewhere else, you never know where you might be. McIlroy, Koepka, and others had their moments in the high grass.
I guess you won the Rob Bolton thing.
Yeah, I did.
What do we call that? I don't even know.
We don't have a
PGA
name for
draft.
It's the Rob Bolton Memorial is what it needs to be. But it's not Memorial because that means he's gone.
No, but Rob's streak ends because all of us missed the cut. Emery, before the tournament even started.
That's not why his streak ended.
I mean,
his streak ended because I put together an incredible team.
Yes, you did have a good team. You had the top 2. You had Fitzpatrick and Zalatoris. So yes,
and Rory, who was around that 1 or under or whatever, and then of course Koepka, your FSU dude.
But it didn't matter what kind of team you put together because all you had to do was get 4 guys that made the cut.
But Then Rob throws this little note in there yesterday, as long as his guys all finish. I forgot about that, because if Koepka would have withdrawn, frustrated, walked off the course, it would have been disqualified, even though it's on the weekend, because he has to finish the tournament. So I was able to have a pretty good team, felt good about it, and Koepka was the one that blew up the last 2 days to finish well off the pace, but they all made the cut, and 2 of them among the top 2 players in the field. All right, tied for the top 2 of the 3, because Scheffler was 5 under as well.
I can't wait till next time, after the 0 more minutes of golf that I've watched, where I pick another team that Rob congratulates and that fails to make the cut. That's the best tradition about this is me not having watched a single second, but trying to make the cut, I guess, is my goal.
I thought you had a good team, too.
We say this every single time, and it's the same result every single time. But anyways, the only thing that I took out of the golf tournament this weekend, because, like I said, I'm not an avid watcher like a lot of people out there, was the broadcast that bad? Because I swear my big takeaway was just everybody complaining about the lack of shots that were shown, and how, I don't know if it's a LIV thing that people saw the way LIV broadcast and now they want to attack the PGA broadcast, or if there's legitimate beefs. I don't know, but I saw more about that than I saw about the actual tournament.
It's about LIV was showing numerous shots compared to what the PGA Tour events. Sometimes the Masters, of course, goes somewhat commercial free, but even they have sponsors, so there's a little bit of that. And there's also the playthrough where they have commercials running in the top left bottom corner. You can see what's going on as well. But yeah, LIV is showing almost all the shots.
But they don't have commercials.
But they don't have very many. It seems like it's almost like commercial free, so I can see that.
Well,
they also just play 3 days. And they also have a guy who has more money than any sponsors could ever help him make any more. Right?
Well, and I mean, where their ads going to be in the LIV Tour? Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Not as bad as people say it is. Or is it?
Greg Norman's quote out there, or Mickelson's, or whoever it was Mickelson. Yeah, they come. Hey, like the brunch is great. Like I don't know how you follow that up. I don't know.
There's 2 things that have come out of all the complaining and concerns about Saudi Arabia. It's a couple of things about what their field is struggling with. Is the fact it's 54 holes, not 72. Some older players may like that. There is no cut. And that really is part of the nuts and bolts of the PGA Tour. Even if you're Tiger, you missed a cut, you don't get paid. And then number 3, the other part of it is, shoot, I just went blank on it. Damn it. Well, their players aren't playing well. They didn't play well at the U.S. Open. 4 guys out of 17 made the cut. The bigger names didn't. Dustin Johnson played okay. Patrick Reed okay, but none of them really played well in that particular tournament. And there were some jokes on Twitter. Well, they're used to being done at 54 holes. They forgot there was a 4th round.
Saudi Arabia, it's a dry heat.
When we come back, we're going to hear from Derek Turner. We're going to do it now? All right, we're going to hear from Derek Turner, former defensive end at Baylor. He played back in the early 80s. I'm going to try to pick and choose over the next 2 or 3 weeks leading up to Big 12 Media Days in mid-July, some former players that maybe have flown under the radar, even put up a thread in SicEm365.com and kind of give me a name of a player or 1, 2, or 3 that you really haven't heard much from and would you like to hear from, and kind of tell his story. And Derek Turner will join us here momentarily with that. Mitch Thompson, if you did not hear, is going to be introduced as Baylor's baseball coach. We, of course, Kendall Rogers had that last week, and we've had all sorts of interviews about that. He'll be introduced at 11 o'clock, I think it is, on Thursday morning. He'll join us on Friday early on in the show. Derek Turner now joins us, former Baylor defensive lineman on SicEm 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Derek, thanks for your time. Paul Catalina, Craig, and David Smoak, SicEm 365 Radio. So I put up a thread. Give me some names of some guys that maybe were under the radar or a little bit maybe underrated or unnoticed. And you weren't unnoticed because your name was brought up. Tell everybody what you're doing right now with your business in Oklahoma, first of all, and thanks for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm in the real estate business. We develop residential subdivisions and neighborhoods, and we build houses and office buildings, things of those nature. Been doing that since I got out of school.
You were a part of Baylor in the early years, 81 to 85. Grant Taft, of course, was there, a Southwest Conference all-defensive end, second-team All-American, and much, much more. Were you someone that felt like when you were coming out of high school that you had a chance to be that good in college?
Not. I guess I just assumed I was. I actually walked on. I I had an opportunity to. I thought I was going to go to school up here in state, and that didn't work out. So I got on the road and had a couple close friends of my dad's that knew about Baylor that had played there, Jim Daniel and Jim Lee, and they said, "Hey, you got to go look at it." So I got on a plane with my dad and went down there and took a look and fell in love with the place the minute I got off the plane and met Bill Hicks at the first time I met him, and thought this is the place I needed to be, and had no idea that walk-ons really weren't supposed to do much other than just kind of be on the practice squad. So my assumption was I'm supposed to play, so why not go play?
What was your impression of Grant Taft the first time you met him?
I actually didn't get to meet him until my second visit, and he was just exactly like he is, just the most down-to-earth, extraordinary man. It was probably a great opportunity for me, being 350 miles away from home, to spend that much time with Coach Taft. I spent 5 years with him. I redshirted 1 year, and then got to spend a year, and was fortunate enough to be a captain my last year. And so that meant you spent a lot of time with Coach Taft when you were captain. And the life lessons that he taught us were just amazing. It went way beyond football. It was so much far beyond football. It wasn't. It was just unbelievable.
Derek, do you still have that 3-piece suit that you wore? Trying to sell yourself. For those that don't know, you might have had one of the great pitches for a walk-on player of all time. I mean, can you kind of, for those that don't know, can you explain how you pitched yourself, so to speak?
Well, you had to back then. There wasn't anything like Huddle or anything. You had to carry all your film everywhere you went. So I had been touring touring universities with my film, and showing up with canisters of film, trying to figure out how I could get in the door, and showed up, and I kind of was dressed up a little bit, and then saw Coach Hicks with boots and jeans on, and I think his comment was, "Oh, boy, you ought to come down here to Baylor. We'd really love to have you." And after that, I was hooked. It was such a great place to be. The funny thing is, I didn't have any idea about Baylor football or Baylor history or anything of that nature, because I grew up in the shadows of OU and OSU, and I remember one of the first times I was down there, I met a guy that he was taking a test in a hallway because he'd been out of town or something, and so he was taking a test, and they introduced me to him, and I thought, well, I looked at this guy. I was as big as this guy. I could play. If he can play, I can play. I didn't realize who Mike Singletary was. So that was probably a little bit overzealous on my part. So we had some great defensive coaches back then, and it was really an honor to play for them. And guys like Corky Nelson and Pete Fredenberg and Robert James and those guys were just phenomenal. Pete, I hear, just got they're going to name a field after him there at Mary Hardin Baylor, which is quite an honor for him.
Yeah, he's won multiple national titles, retired, and incredible. We've had him on a handful of times over the years as well. How tall are you, if you don't mind me asking, or how tall were you when you played?
6'2".
Okay, what was your propensity for blocking field goals?
They kind of changed the rules a little bit since then. I blocked a lot of them. The first one I blocked was against Houston, and the guy that was supposed to do it got hurt. And so Coach Pete grabbed me and said, "Hey, can you go do this?" And I said, "I'll give it a shot." And I blocked the first one. And but I was so excited, I was running off the field and didn't realize the ball was still alive. So and my excitement of blocking one. But we had back then you could hit the center.
Yeah.
Which is I can see why they made that against the rules, because that's pretty dangerous. But we used to kind of do a number or two on the center, and it wasn't hard to block them once you got through there. But you had to get your feet just right and your body turned just right. It was very much like pass rushing. You had to move your hips to be able to make a play.
Derek, you mentioned that you were a walk-on and that you had a place you were looking at maybe at Oklahoma. You had no scholarship offers, correct, out of high school?
I did to some smaller schools. Okay. I did to a couple Division II type schools back then, but nothing nothing from a major university. No.
Did you ever visit OU, and was that your dream, or was it Oklahoma State?
It was Oklahoma State. That's my parents were Oklahoma State graduates. My brother was there. It was just kind of when we grew up, that's where we went to watch ball games, and so I had kind of thought it would be Oklahoma State, and I think they came down to they had one scholarship left, and they ended up giving it to a guy from here in Edmond named Paul Blair that went on to a very successful career in the pros and all. So they probably made a good choice. It was a great choice for me too, because the education that I received there was just phenomenal, second to none.
Well, speaking of Oklahoma State, where were you, what were you doing, and what was your reaction as the Big 12 championship game unfolded this past December?
Oh, I was in the stands sitting right in the heart of a whole bunch of Pokes fans, and me and my buddies, we got tickets to a guy that was actually an Oklahoma State fan, so we were sitting right in the middle of the Oklahoma State group, but it was quite a bit of fun. I'll tell you a funny story. The next day, I came home and I went to dinner with my parents, went to lunch with my parents, and then I went over to one of the sporting goods stores to try to see if I could find some pants. And the pants they had weren't quite the right length, and the guy that was giving them to me he had his OSU hat on, I had my Baylor hat on, and he really didn't want to talk. He was pretty upset. And I went and tried on these pants, and I came back out, and he said, "Well, how'd they do?" And I said, "Well, they weren't very good." He said they were 2 inches too short. And oh boy, it got a good smile out of him, but he wasn't very happy. So
I can. That's quite the I guess opposites, just being amidst the feeling that you're feeling and your buddies are feeling at that moment versus the people that you were in the midst of and the feelings that they were feeling at that moment when that particular play was made. I mean, you talk about joy and just whatever reaction it was that they were feeling at that time.
It was an amazing game. The OSU fans are phenomenal people, so yeah. we really had a good time in between them. I mean, they would rise us and we'd rise them, but it was all lighthearted and you know, when it was over, it was such an emotional win. That was just a crazy. I don't know how the kid stopped him from getting in the end zone, but that was a play of a lifetime, play of the century right there.
Can you share the story? Your wife was your girlfriend at the time, and how she helped you, and how you were able to find out about you had dyslexia in college, and how you overcame that.
Yes, my girlfriend at the time and now wife was Adrienne Hines. She was a song leader, and when I was in school, I had learned, but before I got to school, that I was dyslexic. I dealt with that throughout my high school time, and so I knew it was going to be pretty difficult to get there and stay in school. I didn't realize my parents didn't think they were kind of concerned I'd ever make it because of the difficulties. I used to buy 2 sets of textbooks and send 1 set home, and my mom would read the books on tape and send them back to me on cassette tapes. So back in the day, that's how far back it was. Because I could listen to the stuff and follow, it just was hard to read. And then whenever it came time to write a paper, I would do all the outline of the paper and come up with everything I wanted to say, but I would have to recite it out to my wife, to Adrienne, and she would put everything on paper. She would type it out. She's phenomenal with English and language, and so she would help me get through the classes. If I hadn't had her help, I would have never made it through school, let alone graduate school. So
your mother read the books back and put them on cassette tape, and then Adrienne also was the one that's awesome, man. That's a great story as well. I had somebody that mentioned your name, Coleman, say probably has too big of a heart and will give to anyone. You agree with that?
Oh, yeah. I've been accused of that sometimes, but I guess I'd rather be that way than the opposite. So I was just so fortunate to get to play with some of the guys that I did, and we have such a great relationship with the group now. There's about 15 of us 15 or so of us that are on a text chain. We literally communicate on the hour, not alone on the day, but on the hour. And guys like Mark Addix and Bobby Glass and Walter Abercrombie and Zona Jones and Greg Nunn and Russell Sheffield. I mean, those guys, Vic Vines. I mean, there's a great group of us that we just kind of through the years got together. Unfortunately, it was kind of after the loss of two of our friends when Kerry Ward passed away and Tom Mickey passed away. It got us together as a group, and we've maintained that for years now. It's been a real special thing for me.
Derek, last thing, you've seen what Baylor's done. They've had the rise 2 or 3 different times lately with Art Browse's run, and then Matt Rule, what he did to turn them around, and now what you see with Dave Aranda. What do you think when you watch your alma mater, a place you put your blood, sweat, and tears, turn it around over and over again under different circumstances?
Well, I think it's awesome. The thing is that in this particular time, I know that the previous 2 did fantastic things with the program, but I think we're really set with Coach Aranda. He reminds me so much of Coach Taft about what he wants to accomplish, and his spiritual mission and his mission with the boys, and it's amazing to see it. It's great to see it. It's nice to know that you can win in college athletics today with that type of attitude. And it's basically the attitude the entire athletic department has. And it starts at the top and works its way down. And we've got probably the best AD in the country with Mac. And the coaches that he's bringing in all across the board, especially in football, they're there for the right reasons. They're there to grow and develop young men. And along the way, if we coach in football and win some games, that's what we want to do.
Derek, thanks for your time and sharing your story. We appreciate you very much. Good luck with your business going forward. Have you played Oak Tree since you're from Edmond? Watched the U.S. Open over the weekend. It made me think about Oak Tree when I was introducing you earlier today.
Oh, yes. No, I grew up about a mile from that course and played there many times as a young person and still play there. It's a little hard. They've kind of made it pretty tough, so you don't play it very often without getting your teeth kicked in. So,
yeah, that's a game of golf. It can humble you very quickly. Again, Derek, thanks for your time. Congratulations on what you've done and what you're doing, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
I appreciate it very much.
Derek Turner, 1981 to 85 with Baylor, played for Grant Taft, All-American, 2-time Southwest Conference defensive end, walk-on out of Edmond, Oklahoma, and now runs a business, real estate business in Edmond, Turner & Company, and glad to have him on. Thanks to Michael Coleman for giving me some of the background that he did on Sikkim 365 Radio. If there's a player from your school, and we have a vast array of a lot of you who are watching what we do every day, if there's a player from your school, like an underrated player that you think you might be able to help us get in touch with, or I'll start working on it, Paul brought this up earlier, send it to us on the text line. 254-339-1122, and we'll try to find whoever that might be from somewhere like Brigham Young or Missouri or West Virginia or whoever it might be.
You know, the guys I was thinking of were, the ones who were really good at your school but maybe didn't have that NFL career. If it was, for Florida State, I would say with Casey Weldon, or Bucky Richardson at A&M, Matt Davison at Nebraska, who's I know in their athletic department was the 3 names I threw out. But look, Jason White's a Heisman Trophy winner. He didn't play in the NFL. That's one from Oklahoma. There's lots of people that kind of come to mind, like who is that? Who is great? What Stetson Bennett is going to be at Georgia. He's going to win him a national title, win him a bunch of games this year. But I doubt that his professional football career will last very long.
Yeah. All right. When we come back, we're going to hear from Grayson Grunhafer, a couple of commitments today from Baylor. And then also what the weekend it produced as well. One of the list of names that was sent to me on some underrated or whatever, we've had them all on. LaCurtis Jones, Robin Big Cat Jones, Matt Bryant, also Tevin Reese, Joe Pavelic, Nick Florence. We've had them. And so I'm looking for maybe a name or two that we have never interviewed to bring you on this show like we just did Derek Turner and Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street behind the bank. Look, and if you can't get over there, say you're, kick it in the backyard and, maybe you don't want to get in the car, or you're at the pool, you're hanging out, you want to get some good craft beer or whatever they have there, whether it's spirits or beer or wine or whatever. They're on DoorDash now. So you can go on DoorDash and you can get that order delivered to you, and that way you don't ever have to leave the house. Even though if you do leave the house and go to Riverman Liquor and Wine, you're going to get the best customer service around, a speedy drive-through window, the best selection of locally sourced Texas whiskeys that there are, like TX, Garrison Brothers, Devil's River, and of course Balcones, which is made right here in River City and Waco, and the greatest selection of craft beers. And it's summertime now, so those craft beers are circling through on that roster, and man, there's some good ones that they have there. Riverman Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street behind the bank, now available on DoorDash.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% for 72 with 5,000 down cash or trade. TTL or see dealer for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral on 2nd and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Putting together today's guest lineup, and I'm on my way to the studio, and I just picked the phone up or text Grayson. I said, hey, can you just jump on and kind of review the weekend? And we were, of course, going to discuss Austin Novosad and the quarterback at Dripping Springs. And then pop. Back-to-back commitments. Bryson Washington from Franklin, the running back. We really could do anything. And LaGrange, Jaron Woods, defensive lineman, both announced their commitments as we're about to start the show. And Grayson joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, the recruiting analyst. Grayson, the Bryson Washington one, I watched him. I think anyone who watched high school football championship weekend, he's a phenomenal player. Let's start with him. You kind of felt not great, but pretty good about this one happening, right?
Yeah, guys, I actually had a prediction in last night that I felt like there was a great chance that Bryson Washington was going to flip his commitment from SMU to Baylor. Now, I would say that the timeline was a little bit in the air, I would say. I didn't know if it was going to happen immediately after the visit or if it was going to be something that would drag on a little while. And the main reason for it was, guys, because he had just committed to SMU on June 12th. He had just finished the official visit there, committed to SMU, but then Baylor offered and was able to get him on an official visit immediately, really, after they were able to offer. And honestly, guys, the biggest distinction here between Baylor and SMU, besides, Baylor obviously being a Power 5, that's a big deal, and Bryson loves Baylor as well, has been to a ton of games, had a lot of interest in Baylor. The offer just hadn't came for a long time. But SMU wanted him as an athlete, linebacker, probably is likely what he was going to play, whereas Baylor went all in with running back. So I think that's where Bryson is likely going to start his career at Baylor. And if you watch his film, he's done a lot of running and a lot of scoring touchdowns. He's racked up a lot of yards. He's been the overall MVP of his district 2 years in a row. And like I said, the rushing part of it. 2,856 yards and 39 touchdowns on just 215 carries over the last 2 years. He's a sensational player, and I know, Smokey, you've mentioned he also gets it done defensively. He has over 230 tackles over the last 2 years as well. So a very dynamic player, a guy who's just great at football, and also he's going to fit in really well to the culture of Baylor.
Grayson also upgrading along the defensive line, or adding more to the defensive line, which is something you mentioned on Friday. They needed to definitely add to this weekend, make sure that they were at least making inroads at that position for 2023.
Yeah, adding Jaron Woods, as you mentioned, the LaGrange defensive lineman, 6'4", 265, 270 pounds, somewhere in there. He had offers from, Auburn, Vanderbilt, TCU, Texas, Cal. So a very intriguing prospect. And if you turn on his tape, he's just so long and lanky. And he looks like a guy that just has this enormous ceiling as he continues to grow and gets his body, ready for the college game. He just looks like a guy who could turn into an NFL player. So I really love that pickup for Baylor. And obviously, he wasn't the only defensive lineman on the visit this past weekend, as Colleen Ellison, defensive end Brendan Bett, was also on the trip as well. And Baylor obviously landed Woods, and they're in a great position with Brendan Bett right now. So I think this is just the beginning of kind of this momentum that I've been talking about a lot with you guys. Every single week, everyone was asking, when's momentum coming back? And I said, wait till June. June's going to have a lot more storylines, a lot of momentum that will start to build once these guys come on their official visits and the staff is able to get around them and talk to them and get a feel for, kind of the people that they're recruiting. And on the flip side, the recruits are able to get a feel for what kind of people are in that Baylor coaching room. And it clearly is paying dividends as both sides seem to be really happy. And the guys they've gotten on official visits, they've done a great job recruiting. So Baylor in a much better place today than they were 3 weeks ago.
Grayson, you mentioned, Bryson Washington, he's a running back, and then obviously if, things change, there's the potential there defensively, but Woods on the D-line, what is he specific? Is he a D-tackle type? Is he, what do you kind of know? Is that something they just figure out along the way?
Yeah, he's going to be honestly probably one of the more interesting guys that they've recruited in that regard because, I mean, I know Travis, for instance, has kind of compared him to Chidi Obanaya a little bit. I think he's a little more athletic than Chidi, and obviously Chidi's dealt with a lot of injuries, but Chidi ended up being a nose tackle primarily for this Baylor system. So Jaron could grow into that, but I kind of think he'll be an edge guy, kind of more in the line with like a TJ Franklin. Or Gabe Hall, but he is one of those guys who his body can really fluctuate quite a bit just because he's so long and lanky. There's a lot of room for growth there. So I'm very intrigued by that. But if I were to guess, I do think he'll probably be more in line with either a TJ Franklin or a Gabe Hall than being a true nose tackle for this class.
The Austin Novosad, obviously, I've watched that thread, and he's going to take his time. He's committed to Baylor. We know Ohio State is involved. We know he's a very high-level recruit as well. Your overall gut feeling after he leaves town and heads back to Dripping Springs and really what's on his mind?
Yeah, I think that the visit was great, first and foremost. So he's had 2 really good official visits back-to-back weekends, with the Ohio State one coming first and the Baylor one this weekend. And overall, it kind of was the perfect trip. He got to spend a lot of time with Sean Bell, got to spend time with Blake Shapen and Luke Anthony and Apu Ika. Luke Anthony is a guy who they've known each other since the summer of 2019 because Luke Anthony was actually his counselor and coach at the Manning camp during that summer in 2019. So they have a little bit of a relationship. He got to spend some time with Robert Griffin III as well, which I think was nice. Just one of those things where you get to see a guy who actually, made it at Baylor and ended up being, a top 2 draft pick at the NFL level. So overall, great trip. I think, on his way home, it was basically kind of one of those things where he just wants to talk to his family a little bit longer and just kind of come down from that official visit high, that many people call it, and just kind of see where he's at in a couple days. Now, I've seen a lot of reports that talk about how, it could be, 2 weeks before he makes a decision. And, maybe he'll wait till right before the Elite 11 finals, which I believe is the cutoff. I don't think he will wait past that because, you get to rep your school and everything like that at that event. But I actually think a decision will be made before then. I've said this before. I thought a decision could be made as early as Sunday, but, he wants to take a little bit longer. Totally understand that. But then on both sides, like Baylor and Ohio State need to know kind of where his head is at. And then also Austin just probably is ready to get this recruiting process completely done. It was pretty shut down for a long time until Ohio State came into the fold. So now I'm sure he's getting ready to try to make this decision finally just kind of move on with what he's going to do and move on with the school that he ends up choosing. And yes, he's committed to Baylor. So this is literally just a decision between staying committed to Baylor or deciding to make that flip to Ohio State. And that's kind of where we're at right now. But at the end of the day, this is going to be Austin's decision. And right now I would call Baylor the favorite.
So, Grayson, I didn't get to tune in on Friday, but what were your thoughts on Javion Wilcox and his decommitment and then subsequent commitment to TCU?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little surprising. But one thing I will mention is, I talked to Javion a little bit over the past, I guess, few months, really, and he hadn't set up an official visit to Baylor, which I found kind of puzzling because all the other commits had done so. So just kind of reading the tea leaves there, it seems like he might take his official visit this upcoming weekend, but nothing was officially scheduled. And then he decided to decommit. And you know what? He decommits, and Baylor's already put out 2 defensive back offers since he decommitted. So Baylor's trying to move on, trying to figure out a way to address that loss. And Javion decided to, go to TCU. Now, as far as what they're missing there, I don't think they're missing a ton. I really like Javion. He's a good prospect, a good athlete, but I don't know that he fits in the best with Baylor's defense. He almost looks like he was going to end up being a linebacker, which they don't necessarily need another linebacker in this class. And I don't think he was going to fit in at the field safety spot, which is the position JT Woods played last year. And I think that's the position they really need to address to finish this class. And he doesn't really fit into that. So at the end of the day, I think it's fine for both sides. Baylor will find another guy who might fit what they need more, and Javion was able to find a home at TCU.
That's a school that's pumping out some elite talent, right, with Micah Hudson and also with Wilcox as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops as well. Thank you, Grayson. Appreciate your extra time with us today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Grayson Grundhafer's been all over it, both the commitments, Woods, and also Bryson Washington, and SicEm365.com with articles already up on both as they wrap up the weekend and then get that. And then the waiting game with Austin Novosad. And again, we hear about kids commit, and things can change. And I can see when Ohio State all of a sudden enters the picture, or another 3 or 4 or 5 different schools like that. Baylor with Jeff Grimes, they have their story to tell. RG3 being in town during this weekend, that sure didn't hurt any. But one of the things I like about it is he's not, I'm still good. He's still committed to Baylor, but would you rather him see not wait? And why do you have to recommit? It's Ohio State, and I'd rather him take his time and make the decision he wants to make rather than yet flipping around later on down the road. So that's me. We get players on who commit. He's a phenomenal player. Baylor hopes they can keep him, and then there's just changes that happen all the time now throughout college athletics. So good luck with Baylor and also Austin Novosad as he goes through that as well. SicEm 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Alan Samuels making the Switch sales event right now in June. Award-winning new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab, the Lone Star. Special value up to $7,000 or get $4,000 in bonus cash, 2.9% financing for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, stylish, handle heavy duty, and yet be luxurious as well. The legendary truck that gives you a first-class feel. Also, the 2022, the impressive Wagner Series. The Wagner Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% financing for 72 months plus $4,000 in competitive bonus cash. $4,000 bonus cash incentive on the 2022 Wagoneer limited time Series 2 and 3 at Alan Samuels, Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Tell Ted T we said hi. Say hi to AJ for me, a great sales rep there as well. A client for you, handles your business and what you need at Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots. at goarmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543. Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves. Probably 9 out of 10, every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Former Bassmaster Classic champion Jay Yelas will join us at 4:45 on Cash for Kids, an organization, a foundation to allow those young men and girls and boys that need a little bit of something to get away and kind of release some energy and have some fun. And he's all a part of that. Alton Jones and his son, Alton Jones Jr., are a part of this. We'll give you that interview with Jay. He'll join us in about 20 minutes or so. But then this story earlier today, this is a graphic from Houston Baptist University. Devastated, Darius Lee, former star, a current star at Houston Baptist, was killed. 8 others shot at a gathering in Harlem, New York, overnight. But we're in shock, can't wrap our heads around this news. Heartbreaks for his mom, sister, entire family, also our basketball team. The only thing we find comfort in now is knowing that Darius is. He is in the arms of Jesus. We know that is a fact, and we will see him again someday. Great basketball player as he was even a better person. I can't think of basketball right now. I can only think the light Darius was doing during his short time on earth. He was a joy to coach. We loved him so much. Please keep his mom, sister, family in your prayers, as well as the HBU basketball family during this difficult time. Now, some of the details of this: officers responded at 12:40 in the morning, reports of a shooting in the footpath along a footpath at FDR Drive in Harlem, and found several people wounded. Others went to the hospital, and 21-year-old senior basketball star Darius Lee was killed. He attended St. Raymond, a high school for boys in the Bronx. It was his home for the summer break. Father's Day weekend, NYPD Commissioner Keechant Sewell. Father's Day weekend is a weekend where people were supposed to be able to enjoy themselves with their families. Still under investigation, the shootout. Reported the gathering was a cookout organized by rapper Rich Reimer from Harlem. In fact, posted invitations on his Instagram account. He noted in his 2 prior cookouts had been free of violence and wrote, "Let's go for a three-peat." And it didn't work out. Did not work out. And he's gone. And so that's the basketball coach, Ron Cottrell, and the image, the graphic, the quote we put up on our screen.
Well, I hope they bust a piece of crap that fired the gun. The violence that we're seeing seems like daily, and I know like the news really piles it on as well. You gotta kind of have to take your break from it sometimes. But in New York too, like New York really not a great place right now, and a lot of people pointing fingers as to why and whatnot, but. Just too much senseless violence in this country. I don't even want to get into it's this or it's that or it's what. Just in general, man, I don't care what you want to point your finger at. In general, it's ridiculous. And, there's way too many tragedies going on, and that is certainly one as well. He seemed like a very well-liked young man. I didn't know much about him. until, actually seeing that story. And I hate that was the introduction, really, but obviously beloved there at HBU, and a huge loss for them. Their male athlete of the year, I believe. He had just been named that, and just too young, man, just way, way too young.
Yeah, it sucks. And I was just sitting there combing through a couple of things, and all of a sudden that popped up on the screen. I get that alert or whatever. Sometimes I don't catch it in time. So, unfortunately, he is gone. Let's see here. From Lorenzo Haynes, a couple of you on the chat room. We're going to hear from Jay Yelas in a while. I want the Big 12 to get into the playoff this season in college football, but I'm ready, quite frankly, for this season to be done. Come on, 2023. Let's see.
Why is that?
I think he's a fan of one of the schools
okay,
incoming.
That's what I figured, yeah.
From Justin R. to, how about Arkansas? And their 17-2 blitzkrieg of Stanford they played tonight. Arkansas, somebody was bringing them up. Of course, we mentioned A&M, and we'll have a couple of writers who cover Oklahoma and A&M baseball in the next hour.
Arkansas has had a great year athletically. The football team is as good as it's been in 30 years right now. The baseball team is on the cusp of the College World Series finals. They're in the winner's bracket right now. And the basketball team has been in the Elite Eight the last 2 years and doesn't look like that's going to change this year with Eric Musselman. So, and that's not even getting into what might be going on with track and field, women's sports, tennis, all those other things that just aren't off the top of my head that I don't know. But yeah, the Arkansas athletic department all of a sudden is it's looking pretty darn good after it'd been kind of maybe forgotten about for a little while.
Yeah, it's on a good little run right now. It's just a matter of how much can you break through? Are you going to be the team that flirts with the titles, or are you going to break through and win them? They can win the College World Series versus just getting there. And I'm not saying that not getting there is not an accomplishment. It absolutely is. All the teams that got to Omaha, that's an accomplishment, even if it's Texas and it's a short stay. Still rather be there than not. But, yeah, they're knocking on a lot of doors. It's just a matter of how many of those are they going to bust down. And, it's easier said than done, but enjoy it, certainly, if you're a Razorback fan right now, because this has, all the makings of a really special run, and they've created a lot of great memories already. And their baseball fandom is not completely unparalleled, but it's close when you look at just some of the sights and sounds and drinks, especially from Omaha, Nebraska. They're definitely up there representing. So fun fan base and a fun ride that they're on right now athletically.
Well, I tell you what, they seem to be having a great time in Omaha. That's where I was born, off at Air Force Base, but they host that tournament. I know there's been thoughts at times about somewhere else they build that brand new baseball stadium. Great history. I did see a couple of images, and fans are fans. They're funny. And there was a cooler on the corner of a street with a Tennessee baseball player's face and said, volunteers available. It's like now I saw a rack of merchandise now already 50% off in wherever they're selling, I'm sure at the stadium and elsewhere around Omaha, and they already had the UT jerseys on the 50% off rack. And right now, Auburn's trying to get back in the tournament against what would be the winner of Arkansas tonight, as they're beating Stanford in the ninth, 6-2.
Stanford's about to go on the rack there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'm interested to see the A&M and Notre Dame elimination game. I think that's really really well matched game right there, and obviously curious to see if Link Jarrett can. I don't know if I want him to win the College World Series this year and then take the job he's obviously going to take a week from now and then win another one, or win his first one at the job he's going to take.
Yeah, they've been a fun story, man. They really are. They're a senior-laden or experienced team. They can hammer the ball. They just ran into a team that's better right now in Oklahoma. And A&M, of course, with a 10-2 win in their win against Texas as well, as they stay alive. I saw a note, their first College World Series victory in over nearly 1,400 days. And, of course, there was the back and forth between UT and the history and Texas A&M. 10-2 yesterday is the most latest thing that we see. And UT will be back in the World Series again, maybe next year or sometime soon. They've been there more than anyone else at 38. A&M has not just had any success there. And so now all of a sudden they're now in the position to try to advance again of the win against Notre Dame tomorrow. From This earlier, we mentioned the commitments in the transfer, and again, we know what's going to happen. It's wide open. Even Ross mentioned that when I asked about the May 1st deadline, it might as well not even be there. Make the LOIs, letter of intents, binding for 2 years. It makes it tougher for them to sue because the schools basically have them under contract. That's not going to happen. I like the idea to have some sort of structure for the student athlete, but also for the school itself. I just don't know if we could ever get there. I don't know. And all of this could have been avoided a long time ago if they had just said, okay, we're doing pretty well, but it's hard. When you're doing well, you want more and you want more and more, but now all that's come back to bite them in the butt. And now, as Ross even said, the players now have this massive momentum when it comes to what they get and what they want and what they want more of.
Human beings aren't historically good at being,
satisfied?
But looking down the road and going, oh, this could be bad later.
Yeah.
I mean, human history, I'm not just talking about recent human history, almost all of human history tells us that we need a boulder to fall on top of us to know that there's rocks falling.
We need the grid to go off and be freezing people to death in Texas to know that there's a problem with our electric grid. We need that to happen before we actually address it, despite all the warnings like that and just countless other examples. Yeah.
Yeah. So the lesson is, usually the people who are warning you about something, most of the time they're smart people who are scientists or experts in the field that are telling you, like, hey, we're headed for, like Greg Shaheen at the NCAA has told them, listen, we're headed for a crisis here. And what did the NCAA do? No, we're not. We're not headed for it. It's going to be fine. We don't do that here. It's going to be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then all of a sudden, bam, there you go.
Or they don't care because they can just jump on a flight to Cancun.
Yeah.
When it gets cold outside.
Exactly.
They don't have to worry about it.
Even though
our great leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they fixed it?
The grid?
I saw you respond to somebody. What was that about?
They're testing. Well, Chris Radcliffe, a friend of mine from KCN, posted a story, and it said that they are, because we're having more and more electric cars, and that's what in 20 years we're all going to be driving probably. But before we all get electric cars, we have to fix the national grid. We have to fix the grid everywhere because we don't have enough power to, power all electric cars when we get to that point. So I said, oh, they fixed the grid. Great news. And he said, well, no. I said, well, the grid has been tested in Texas and it looks like it can hold it. But I was like, well, everywhere is not, it's going to be bad everywhere unless they do it. I mean, California has wildfires. And the big one that they had a few years ago was because there was a hook on held the power line together that was 75 years old.
Oh, I've seen those. I really have. I've seen them.
Yeah, and so
I always wondered what those were.
They could have just gone and fixed the hook and maintained it, but somebody in the government said, well, if we don't do that, we can put money towards some stupid thing that's never going to help people, and as opposed to keeping the power on and not setting the damn state on fire.
I wonder how much that hook cost.
I mean, not as much as, the fire did. So, again... but that's where we are.
Oh, I don't think
the state has to be on fire before you're like, maybe 70 years ago we should have changed the hook.
I've seen them because I'll see birds up on the wires or whatever, and you'll see kind of a connection at times. All right, when we come back, former Bassmaster Classic champion Jay Yelas on a really nice event, Cast for Kids, coming up this week. 5 o'clock hour, we drop in with Oklahoma and also Texas A&M baseball after their wins yesterday. And then also, normally David Hellman, David now works for Fox Sports, and so he's taken a couple of weeks just to kind of chill out and transition between DallasCowboys.com and Fox Sports, and we understand that. We'll have Paul's Top 5 here around the corner as well. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Dr. Kent Petty and Petty Clinic, LowT.com can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, need to be, and perhaps used to be. As you get older, Father Time, your testosterone level can drop. It's part of life. It's part of getting older. It's 1 out of every 3 men who have symptomatic issues of low testosterone that could be bad sleep. It's not the same. Sex drive, not the same. Body fat increasing. And on top of that, your focus is absolutely not the same. So Petty Clinic, LowT.com can help you out. Tell them I sent you if you want to. Go online, PettyClinic, Top corner is a phone number and email. You can contact them, say, hey, David Smoak said maybe I need to get my testosterone levels checked. They'll set up the blood work. The lab results will go back to Dr. Petty. And by the way, tell them to waive that that appointment for you to get your blood drawn, because they will. Tell them I sent you. Dr. Kent Petty and PettyClinic@LowT.com. They'll check the results. If your testosterone level is too low, even a little bit low, he can put you back in a program, put you in a program to bring back what you need, what you've lost as you've gotten older, and eliminate being one out of every 3 men with symptomatic issues of low testosterone at PettyClinic@LowT.com.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Sausage wrap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Over the years, we've had an opportunity to talk with Jay Yelas about an event that means a lot to him, but also means a lot to a lot of people. The 6th Annual Cash for Kids Foundation, the Waco Gala and auction coming up on Friday. This gives special needs children a chance to go and catch a fish and enjoy the great outdoors. And Jay Yelas has been a spokesperson for the event for a long time. And we know Jay, love Jay, appreciate his time, Bassmaster champion as well. Jay, thanks for your time. And yet here we are again with yet another one of those Cash for Kids events, and your thoughts about just what it means to you to be involved and what it means, more importantly, to the kids.
Oh, yeah. So thanks, David, for having me on. And, yeah, we're getting ready this Friday night, June 24th, to have our 6th annual Cash for Kids Waco Gala and fundraising auction there in Waco. And we are excited to come back and see all of our friends down there in Central Texas. And the Cash for Kids Foundation is all about enriching the lives of children with special needs through the sport of fishing. And we put on events not just in Texas, but all over the nation. And we have more events in the great state of Texas than anywhere else. We'll have about 30 events in Texas alone this year. We'll have about over 80 nationwide. And the events provide special needs kids an opportunity to come out and to be loved and just to have an opportunity to enjoy a day of boating and fishing, sometimes shore fishing. Most of our events are boating events, and they're all put on by volunteers from local communities that want to, show these kids that they're loved and valued, and the community volunteers to come out and celebrate the kids. So a morning at a Cast for Kids event, a morning of fishing is followed by lunch and then an award ceremony where each child receives an award plaque with their photo in it. They get a standing ovation and they get to talk into the mic about their day, and they're just cheered on by their community. And it's a special day for those kids, and they are why we do it. And it's just an opportunity to, bring some sunshine into their life and to provide them an opportunity to go boating and fishing that they wouldn't otherwise have. And it's a lot of fun, to be honest with you, because the events are kind of a win-win for everybody. The volunteers love it, the parents of the children love it, and of course the kids they have a ball. And a lot of them, they have never been fishing before, so it's something new. And when they arrive to the event, they're kind of unsure about how fishing will go, and they end up falling in love with it, and they just have the best time and catch their first fish. And there's just a lot of joy at those events. So anyway, we have an annual fundraiser each year to help us be able to provide more of these opportunities to special needs kids in Texas and around the country.
You could go to castforkids.org, the website for the events going on, learn more about it as well. CASTFORKIDS.org. That's the Cast for Kids Foundation homepage as well, and helping some young people have a chance to feel that exhilaration. Jay, I have a friend of mine that has a cabin up in the Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. I don't fish very much, but I don't know if it's hard. It's almost impossible to describe the feeling when your hook sets, like you have a fish on your hook. Can you kind of describe that the first time you ever felt it, long time ago, and the millions of fish you've caught since?
Yeah, it is a special event in somebody's life, and it's something that they don't forget. I still remember the very first fish I ever caught. I was with my grandfather. We were up on a pond, and we were fishing with a topwater lure, and we were an old jitterbug, and the topwater lure for bass. You throw it out and reel it slowly on the surface, and a bass came up and ate it, and I was hooked for life. I ended up making a career. Most events in life, most days come and go, and you forget them. But people don't forget the first fish they ever caught. It's a lifetime memory, and that's what we're able to help provide to these children at these Cast for Kids events. And it's something special. We hear from their parents all the time, how the kids, it means so much to them. And we give them a free fishing pole or tackle box and an award plaque and some lures and different things. And the parents tell us the kids go home and they sleep with their fishing pole in their bed for the next couple of weeks. Wow. They've had so much fun. It's just a great memory. They don't all do that, but a lot of them do that. And we hear from parents all over the country all the time how their kids slept with their award plaque or they sleep with their fishing pole. And it's a fun charity to be a part of. I really enjoy it.
My father told me when I was a kid we fished a lot throughout his life, and he always told me there's no such thing as a bad day fishing. If you catch nothing, it's still not a bad day because you're fishing. And
that's exactly true.
Yeah, there's no such thing. And you guys, in the event, in the fundraiser event, you guys have a lot of cool stuff that you auction off, and it's bass professionals from around. If you're a fan of bass fishing or fishing in general, people you would know that are involved with this all over the country, right, Jay?
Right, and we find that these fundraisers are a great way to raise money for the foundation because people get something in return for their donation. And we have guided fishing trips all over the state of Texas available. Just about any lake you can think of with really top-notch pros or guides. We have saltwater trips. Skeeter donates a 2-day Venice, Louisiana red fishing trip, and we've got Lake Fork and OH Ivy, and all Lake Waco, even just all over Texas. There's all kinds of fishing trips and some hunting trips in there too, and a lot of outdoor stuff. And so it's a great opportunity for folks to get hooked up with a great fishing trip, and all for the benefit of the Cast for Kids Foundation that'll provide opportunities for special needs youth to go fishing.
Jay, what is the feeling like when that you've had a good day in a bass fishing tournament? It's not like there's a scoreboard most of the time, like you're playing a regular sport, and okay, if this just happens, there's a lot of mystery to it when you're driving in, but you kind of have the feeling that I think I might have done it today. This might be my day where I've got this tournament.
Yeah, well, I've done it for over 30 years, and so you kind of have a feel for what kind of day you've had. And when you spend thousands of days fishing like I have, when you've been really blessed that you've actually caught more fish than you probably should have that day. They're all big. And you just know, fisherman knows when they've had a really blessed day of fishing. And so that doesn't mean you're going to win the tournament, but you usually have a really high finish when you have one of those special days. And tournament fishing just adds to the thrill of catching fish, but it's just one of many ways to enjoy the It's a very relational sport for spend time with your kids or your grandfather or your brother or your old college buddies, or some people enjoy it fishing alone. That's a lot of fun too, and it's a good time to fishing with kids. So the one thing I wanted to mention is, besides our live auction at our gala in Waco, we also have a silent online auction that's going on all this week, Friday night, and folks can find that also at our same website, castforkids.org. And a lot of those fishing trips I mentioned that are being auctioned off, they're on the online auction, so people can get on there from anywhere in America and bid on those trips.
I had somebody on our chat room that watches us on YouTube. Mr. Yelas, thanks. I'm in Hot Springs, Lake Hamilton, which I've driven by many a times on our way to Hot Springs Village. Saw you've had great tournaments on Hamilton and Ouachita. What's the secret?
Oh, well, I have enjoyed fishing up there in Arkansas, and I guess the secret is to go early, work hard, put a lot of time in, and there's no substitute for time on the water. That's how you learn and get good at fishing. And just like anything in life, you gotta really love what you do, because it takes a lot of hard work to get to make a living at fishing. But there's those guys that do make a living at it. They're really hard workers. They put long hours in, and they're really passionate about what they do. So, but yeah, I love fishing up there in Hot Springs. Lake Ouachita is one of my favorite lakes in the country. It's beautiful.
All right, so you hear about pitchers who have issues sometimes with Tommy John, the lumbar, or whatever. Injuries are a part of a sport. So what's going on with your tendonitis? What's happening there with you?
Yeah, I actually I've got experienced the first injury I've had in 35 years as a professional fisherman. I had, a couple months ago, turns out I tore some tendon off the bone in my elbow, and the pain has really been excruciating. It's not uncommon for tournament fishermen to experience what I've had. I've been fortunate to go so long without an injury like this, but yeah, it's extremely painful. So I had to actually withdraw from the last tournament. We were at Lake Fork, and I was doing pretty well in the tournament, and about halfway through the event, I had to withdraw from it. It was just, I couldn't even turn the reel handle without extreme pain in my elbow. So I had to yank myself out of competition, and it just needs rest. I've seen sports medicine doctors, and I'm praying I don't have to go the surgery route, but I'll know in a few months. I'm trying to let it heal on its own and not use it. And so, but it's a repetition of fishing. When you're in a tournament, you're fishing 6 days in a row, and you're making 2,000 casts a day, and then you get a week off, and you go to the next tournament and do it another 6 days in a row, and And so and a lot of guys have dealt with that in either their elbow or their shoulder or their wrist. It's a pretty common injury amongst fishermen. And but as you get older, I guess I got to work a little harder at keeping in shape. But I don't know. I'm just, like I said, thankful I've had a good 35 years of fishing injury-free, so I can't complain about this.
Well, yeah. Relax that a little bit. It's and I know you will. Listen to the doctors. Mike Games on the chat room. I love going up to Hudson Bay in Canada when I was younger to go fishing. Somebody else asked the Ohio River, a carp in Ohio River. Somebody mentioned whether you had ever been fishing in India. Have you ever been in Indiana fishing?
Lake Monroe.
Lake Monroe. Where? Lake Monroe.
Yeah, we have a Cast for Kids event each year on Lake Monroe, Louisiana.
There you go.
And there's some awesome kids up there. Brandon and Amy, they're the local folks that coordinate that event. They do a great job. They've been doing that about 4 or 5 years in a row now. But yeah, there's some good fishing in Indiana, especially at my favorites up there in Lake Erie and the very northern end of Indiana. That smallmouth fishing on the Great Lakes is top notch. It's the best in the world, and that's my favorite fishing up in that part of the country is for those smallies in the Great Lakes.
Jay, you're great for doing this. Cast for Kids, again, castforkids.org. The event coming up this weekend in Waco. Again, the gala and also the auction at the Lee Lockwood Library and Museum starts open the doors at 5:30. Alton Jones, I think, and Alton Jones Jr. are going to be there as well. Is that correct, Jay?
Yeah, they are. The Jones father and son duo are going to be our guest speakers for the evening program. And then there's a few other celebrities will be in house. T. Roy Broussard from the Swamp People TV show, he's going to be there. Mountain Man from Duck Dynasty will be there. And Frank Talley at Bass Pro from Temple, Texas will be there. And there'll be some other guys. So it'll be a lot of fun and all for a great cause, getting these kids out fishing.
Thanks for your time, Jay. Good luck with your comeback. Again, Jay Yelas, 2003 Bassmaster champion and also a member of the Bassmasters Hall of Fame. So love what he's done for this event. Cast for Kids, castforkids.org. Again, that's coming up on Friday and the weekend for the young kids to have a chance to get that bam. You feel it on the hook, you feel it on the reel, and it's unlike most anything you've ever felt before.
And when he says they have events all over the country, he's not kidding. I mean, it's not like sometimes people say that and you're like, oh yeah, you have 4 events. No, they have events. It's like every single week they've got something going on. Cast for Kids, it's somewhere in the country. It's a great organization, and I put the link in the chat room for anybody who's interested. Juan even said they've got stuff out there in California, so that so wherever it is, they've got an event there. Believe me, it's all over the place.
Auburn wrapped up their win against Stanford, so they move into stay alive. Stanford's out after being hammered by Arkansas, losing now to Auburn 6-2, and so that's another team that stays alive and another one that's now in that 50% off merchandise rack as well. All right, when we come back to 5 o'clock hour, we'll focus in a little bit on the College Baseball World Series with both Texas A&M and Oklahoma with their wins yesterday, with writers who cover them. Also, Paul's Top 5 in about an hour. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. They had themselves a week right before Father's Day. Hey, don't forget, just around the corner, you've got 4th of July weekend as well. If you want to order something to go pick up at your convenience when it's ready, they will take that order for you. Beef, pork, poultry, and also seafood. Full-fledged butcher shop. Full-fledged bakery that bakes fresh baked bread and also kolaches every single day. So if you want something for a reunion, for the holidays, for 4th of July coming up, Waco Custom Marketplace is your place. Plus, they have Hometown Grocery Store, the knickknacks and snacks and much more, seasonings and sauces. They will help you with that. Cold beer and also wine as well if you're interested, plus if you want regular soft drinks available as well. Waco Custom Marketplace, remember, through the month of June, live crawfish available. Order by 6 on Wednesdays, pick it up anytime after 4 on Friday. Waco Custom Marketplace at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy old world pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Brad Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something, like I did an estate yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, everyone. This is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like mortgage lending, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jonathan Garibay. No good. Baylor keeps their Big 12 championship hopes alive with their 10th win of the season here in Waco.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Hey, Garrett, make sure you remind me somehow to ask Ryan Brauninger, who covers A&M baseball, about Mophie. Just Brian Etheridge threw something up in the chat room or in somewhere where I got to ask him about the Mophie. So we appreciate your time. 5 o'clock hour has begun. Paul's top 5 in less than an hour. And then also riders for both A&M and Oklahoma on their College World Series. Auburn just took care of Stanford, knocked them out 6-2, so they stay alive as well. Garrett Ross, Jack McKenzie, Levi Caraway, and also Emery Winter in the studio with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. We'll have Craig here, I guess, in a moment. Paul Catalina with me. I want to get into it. It's easy. Daniel Snyder and the Washington franchise football team in the NFL.
Yeah.
So he was asked to maybe change his plans and be a part of this oversight committee invitation in the House of Representatives. Correct, Paul?
Yes.
He turned it down.
Yeah.
And then they went after him again. Is that right?
Yeah, and he turned it down again. Now, look, I can get it from the perspective of Daniel Snyder. You never want to testify, in your own defense, and all that stuff because it can only lead to bad things. But if he really does want to try and clear the air, he's going to have to. But it's not a surprise. He hasn't done even a media interview in years. I mean, we might have been some of the last people to interview him. We had him at the Super Bowl in Dallas, but he hasn't done, Bruce Allen, you remember Bruce Allen did a press conference randomly a couple years ago before he was out the door. No one saw it coming that covered the team at the time because he hadn't done a press conference in 6 years. So he just didn't do press conferences. That's not what they do in Washington, which an organization that doesn't do press conferences has something to hide. Not that some that do, they don't, but like if you're not doing them, then you've got something that's going on, and it's just another indication of just the absolute ridiculous waterfall of crap that is his organization.
Yeah.
And who's going to pay for that new stadium he's wanting to build, even though the team sucks and has sucked pretty much during his entire tenure as owner?
He wants the taxpayers.
And he wants a new stadium because they've done what to earn that other than just fortunately haven't killed people because their stadium is so decrepit at this point. He wants the taxpayers to pay for it. Sure, I'll pony up tax money when you actually go and address this systemic issue that you have going on within your organization. Clearly, I don't like the guy. I've never been a big fan, but only in recent years with all of these other stories. Like, look, I'm a Mavericks fan too, and I see, the big SI expose and all of that. Like, at least Cuban seemed to care. And he may have only cared because he had to care, because if he didn't care, then he was going to get thrown under the bus and ran over 20 times. Daniel Snyder does not care about anything, it appears at all, outside of just his own interest. And this is not of his interest, even though it very much should be. I'm ashamed to be a Washington fan with him as the owner. And I know that, Cowboys fans could, if they really want to get into that hole, like all these billionaire owners, like I'm sure every fan base could pick a point of contention, and we all have to draw our lines or whatever, overlook whatever. But I'm tired of overlooking Daniel. I don't have to be a Washington fan, and I'm not a fan of him, and I never will be. And, I'm sure he's got his legal reasons for doing what he's doing, but, spare me I can't get out of this trip to France or whatever he has to do. If it was that important to you, you could.
Well, here's the other thing. It's the Congressional Oversight Committee. If you told them, look, I've got to go to France, but I'll be happy to testify when I come back, guess what they'll do? They'll make time. They don't do anything else. This is what they're doing.
I honestly don't know this, but is it not possible to do a Zoom call?
Well, considering that's what Roger Goodell, I think, did. So,
we all went about our lives for nearly an entire year without being in person, running meetings, running businesses, and you mean to tell me now it's just impossible for him to find some, and maybe they don't allow that. I don't know. That's why I asked the question, but I don't trust him as far as I could throw him, and I know that ain't far. So I do not like Daniel Snyder, and I don't like the way the Washington franchise has been run under him all these years. It's made me less of a fan with each passing year, and you can point to losing as part of that, but he's been the one constant because they've had years where they've won and it was fun but at the same time felt tainted for me. And I'm not trying to make anybody else draw a line in the sand or anything like that. I'm just tired of forcing myself to root for a organization that I don't respect because that's just what I'm supposed to do because that's what I've always done. I'm done with those days.
I'm tired of talking about it, but I wanted to bring that up because we had a little bubble here. But I want to get to some of the text messages. Stephen Vaughn asked us earlier today, is there more expansion in the Big 12 on the table? Right now, the college football playoff expansion has slowed everything down to a halt. The Pac-12 waiting for what they're going to do with their TV contract. Again, next year, there'll be 4 new teams in the Big 12. Anything after that right now, I would think, is completely in neutral, and that's as fast as it can go until the college football playoff expansion is decided as well of what they're going to do with that. From the 304, I predict West Virginia, Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Your thoughts, 304. Thanks for your text.
That'd be a big jump. I think, JT Daniels, we'll see how he does at quarterback there. I think Graham Harrell's going to make their offense a lot more exciting because it was very bland last year. It was like eating tofu, I'm sure. Not that I eat tofu, but, tofu's bland. So I think that that'll be better, but are they going to be better? Are they going to be 7 spots better than they were last year? I don't see that kind of a jump, especially with the kind of the tumultuous nature surrounding Neil Brown's even tenure there. I mean, Graham Harrell is the please don't fire me hire for him.
Wasn't Baylor a 7-place or 8-place jump?
Different
circumstances.
Different circumstances, yeah.
From Mike, we appreciate Mike at Ohio Youngstown State possibly joining the MAC. Only 2 schools standing in the way are Kent State and Akron, both, of course, from the great state of Ohio. And this is from Jim from Miami, who contacted me over the weekend asking how he can watch us live. Mr. Smoak, Paul, Craig, it is amazing, but I'm watching you live. He always used to watch our replays, the segments that we put up on 365 Sports. And, Jim, great to have you watching us live as well.
Yeah, welcome. And, quite frankly, it's the slowest time of year, but I'm looking forward to hearing about a month. We'll have Big 12 Media Days and also Conference Media Days. I mean, I say it's the slowest time of year, and that's just because sports are coming to a close. Like college baseball is about to be done, and when that's done, college sports are, they're done until August. NBA's just wrapped up. They got the draft coming up in a couple of days. That'll be of interest. But, yeah, it's kind of hitting that midsummer stretch where it's pretty much just baseball for a couple of weeks. And then it's going to be right into media days and counting down to games. And I'm looking forward to that because the offseason's been fun. It's been very newsworthy. But I do want to talk about games. And I do want to see, hey, that's great you got that new quarterback in the portal. But did it make a difference? Because we talked about it for 6 months, how it's going to make you national champs. And I just want to see if that's actually true or not. And, there's countless examples, but that's the offseason's for optimism, and everybody's optimistic, I think, for the most part right now. If you're not, then you got a long way to go. But I'm looking forward to actually seeing the real deal and not just all of the speculation.
Well, we've seen more turnover in coaching and players than we ever have. It's a historic offseason. So we really didn't even know what the effect is going to be.
We don't.
Because
we really don't.
College football usually is a slow burn. Well, I mean, everything is kind of a slow burn to building up. It takes time to build a team at a championship caliber, and it feels like there's some college football programs that are trying to microwave their way to it, which – I know with all these rules might seem possible, but I don't know. We don't know if it is. How good can Mario Cristobal make Miami in a year? Can they be? They've never won the ACC title. They've never won the ACC title. Is he going to come in year 1 and do that? I mean, that's probably not likely. Are they going to be better? Probably. He's a lot better coach than they've had in a while, and a lot more, modern coach than they've had in a while. So there's all of that goes into it. So I don't know. I think that it'll be interesting because, again, we've not the player movement alone, the free agency that we have in college football because of the transfer portal and NIL has changed everything. So we don't know how it's going to react and how some teams will rise and fall.
We don't. I want to go back to one of the segment we had last week, and it got a lot of play because it was about UT and the horns down and all that. And part of it was, of course, in Omaha as they were going to the College World Series, or, again, the guy that was going to sing and was told he couldn't sing. I did get this text on our line over the weekend from Greg, and he's served our country, so Greg, thank you very much. But it's the first time I've ever heard this angle, and it came from him, and he said, yeah, the horn's down. He said, you're completely ignoring the fact that the gesture, horns down, is offensive to some Texans. It still may be emotional trigger for some Texans. The college that resides in our state capital means something to certain individuals. And we went back and forth. It was good. It was TCU, Baylor, Texas Tech, every school that I know of does horns down. They're from Texas, so I don't think they get any extra, leave us alone because we're in the state capital. If anything, it's probably why more people can't wait to beat them because they're in the state capital. I don't know.
I'm sorry, but that is the softest thing I've ever heard in my life. That is one of the softest things. I mean, the what? The respect for Texas just because, I don't understand that.
Well, we went back and forth. We had a good conversation. It wasn't all, we didn't agree on everything. But he served our country. We appreciated that. It's the first. It's the first time, as I said from the beginning, that I'd ever heard that angle on Horns Down. I agree with you.
Yeah, I just think it's like, I don't think there's another fan base that, like if somebody, I don't know how you do a reverse tomahawk chop, but if there was a way to do it, I wouldn't be bothered by it.
I brought up the Florida thing. I brought up the fans.
Like A&M is gig 'em, right?
Yeah.
So people do thumbs down all the time. I don't hear them saying like, oh my gosh, you've wrecked my whole emotional state.
It's the only hand sign that I can think of that creates this much anxiety or drama and or discussion.
That is
everybody in college is athletics.
That is all totally pointless and way overblown. I mean, this is the dumbest recurring story. I'm sorry, but there's a ton of hand signals that you can get upset about in the real world or whatever, but this horns down because it's, the easy thing to do that's always been, there's nothing nefarious about it. There's nothing evil about it. It's Oklahoma and A&M and other schools that play Texas getting their little moment when they get their moment, and that's all it is. And why it's being blown up to be this, oh my gosh, we got to suspend somebody because they threw the horns down, or we got to find some, that. It's just ridiculous. What are we doing? This is stupid.
Yep, I agree. Name from Hank in California. I enjoy watching your YouTube channel. NCAA should be considered reestablishing the old Southwest Conference because all the schools that got in trouble, they're letting them do that free as they can right now. We're now joined by Ryan Brauninger. Brian, thank you for your patience in waiting for us as well at the College Baseball World Series. A&M thumped Texas yesterday 10-2. Hey, I was asked by Brian Etheridge if you took or brought your Mophie this time.
I brought my what?
Your Mophie. Is there some sort of
It's a phone charger.
Yeah. That I didn't know what that meant, but he asked me to ask you that question if you brought your Mophie this time.
Yeah, Etheridge has got jokes. But you know what? When Etheridge shows up to all these recruiting events, he's always the most prepared guy there. So I'll give him that. We can't give Brian too many compliments, but when he does show up, he is prepared.
So yesterday, A&M was obviously prepared. Texas got a couple of runs early, but it didn't seem like they were able to blink. How important was that, obviously, besides the tournament, to get that win against Texas? It's the first time in the College World Series.
Yeah, I think more so than winning against Texas. That's the first win A&M's had in the College World Series since 1993. And it's the reason why you hired Jim Schlossnagle, right? And it's the reason why you ripped him away from TCU, was to get to Omaha more and to win games in Omaha. Now, to do so, winning your first game since 1993, and in doing so, you send the Longhorns back to Austin. I mean, that's just the biggest cherry on top of the cake for Aggies that you could possibly imagine. And so, it was really interesting, David, and listening to the kids come out of the tunnel yesterday after the win. They were, leaving the dugout and coming up into the tunnel into the media area. And there wasn't a lot of them talking about what they just did. There was a lot of them talking about what they could do. And so I think that's kind of the mentality of this team. They went into the game as obviously, you get amped up a little bit more to play Texas, but they came into the game with just, winning the day and then progressing in the tournament, next man up kind of next game mentality. And that was really interesting to me. You figure they'd come off the field and be real loud and rambunctious about beating Texas in Omaha, but it was very businesslike and just kind of interacting with the players and seeing how they were interacting with each other.
Ryan, they were probably the hottest team as far as momentum going into the postseason and the College World Series as what they've done in the last couple of weeks. What is that when Jim Schlossnagle, only in his first year at A&M, when his kind of attitude and everything kind of took hold and they were able to kind of roll with that, late in the season on in?
Well, it really started, if you go back and look how the season went, and I was at Olsen Field at Bluebell Park on a Tuesday night in March against the University of Houston, where A&M lost 8-2, and the team and the program, it just looked dead in the water. It looked stale, and then we're sitting there we're talking on TexAgs about, the patience that's going to be needed for this rebuild and, how much work Jim Schlossnagle's got to do to get this program back to the level that he had it at TCU, and they go on the road the next week to LSU to open up conference play, and it's like the whole season changed between College Station and Baton Rouge. The mentality of the hitters changed, the mentality of the offense. The team found their identity in Baton Rouge. So they take 2 out of 3 from LSU there in Louisiana, and then they come on the road the next week in a midweek at Texas, and they beat Texas 12-8. And from then on, guys, like this A&M team has been completely different since that stretch of games right there. And I don't know what it was, if it was like, maybe the us against the world mentality that they had in the dugout in Baton Rouge, or what it was, but they came together, they found their identity, and it all started to click when you have all these new coaches and all these kids from all over the country transferring in. Maybe we, as analysts, maybe we were the ones that were too impatient, and we should have seen, it's just going to take time for this thing to gel and click. And then when it did, and credit to the kids that they grabbed hold of that identity and they haven't let it go.
What was that atmosphere like?
Which one?
For the Texas
in the
game.
Stadium. Yeah. I mean, so we're kind of up in the press box, and you got to be buttoned up, and it's a crowded press box in Omaha. But just from the stories that we've heard from in the stands, that it was pretty rowdy. And I think you saw some of the clips, some interactions between fans and players. And, it may be 700-800 miles from College Station in Austin for Omaha, but it felt like, we were somewhere on Highway 21 playing that game.
It's just how fantastic is it with all this going on with the future of the SEC that they end up playing in the College World Series?
Well, I guess the future of the SEC and it being fantastic that Texas is coming in is going to depend on who you ask, right? I think there are a lot of people wearing maroon that don't think that it's too fantastic. And there's probably a lot of folks wearing green and gold in Waco that think it is fantastic because they're finally getting away from them. And I heard what y'all were talking about with the horns down and stuff. But, I don't know. I mean, if it was inevitable and it was going to happen, then you might as well rip the Band-Aid off and let it happen. But, I think a lot of A&M fans would tell you that they're not real pumped about being in the same conference with those guys again.
Well, I mean, that's you could say every which reason why they left, but that's why they left. I mean, being in the SEC, money and prestige and all that stuff, but it was also money and prestige without having to seemingly run everything by Austin, Texas. And now, while it works differently in the SEC, you break up with someone, you don't expect them to move next door.
That's a pretty good analogy. And I think the big thing was it just caught a lot of Aggies off guard, right? And, that felt like something that A&M would get a heads up on before it happened. And it just kind of, was sprung upon the A&M fan base there all at once. But, you live and you learn and you adapt. And I think, Texas is going to have to learn how to function in the SEC. And no disrespect to the Big 12, and especially what you guys have done there at Baylor. It's been pretty remarkable across a lot of sports what you guys have done. But, in the SEC, it's the week in, week out grind that's the biggest difference, right? Like the depth of the conference. And, it's not about going and playing a 3-game series against Arkansas and winning it. It's that you got to turn around the next week and then you got Florida coming to your place. Then you got to go to South Carolina or Ole Miss. And so it's just the depth of the league. It doesn't allow you to take weekends off. And that's why I think, guys, the most impressive thing this A&M baseball team may have done this year is win the SEC West. When you look at the totality of the season and how hard that is to do, and then they only won 9 games in the conference in 2021. That kind of turnaround to win the best division in college baseball, that was probably their biggest accomplishment so far.
You think about the emotions that they've been through in the postseason, playing TCU in the regional, and then playing UT in at the College World Series. To me, I mean, it says quite a bit about this team.
Well, I actually wrote a column today, David, about this team has done nothing but kick doors down all year. And, they busted through quite a big one yesterday and did so by beating your arch rival and sending them home from the College World Series where, you kind of had a little, not a curse, but you lost 8 in a row in Omaha. And, they getting the TCU monkey off their back. There was no TCU curse. TCU had a coach sitting in the dugout. That was the difference in those series in 15, 16, and whenever TCU sent A&M home from Omaha in 17. The biggest difference in those games was that Jim Schlossnagle was wearing purple and black, and now he's wearing maroon and white. So, yeah, this team they'll be long remembered in Aggie lore for a lot of things. But putting putting the stamp on it yesterday against the Longhorns, I mean, that has endeared them to the Aggie fan base forever.
So what do you think about what's potentially next with Oklahoma and Notre Dame or Notre Dame?
Yeah, so they'll get Notre Dame tomorrow at 1. And look, man, I think it's a coin flip. I think every team here can still win this thing. Oklahoma looks like the hottest team here. They're going to be really tough to beat, not just once, but somebody's going to have to beat them twice. But for A&M, they're got to get. I mean, they got a great start out of Micah Dallas against Texas. That's something that is pretty remarkable that they've won all these games, and the starting pitching has been. I mean, inconsistent would be a compliment to give this starting pitching so far. So, if they can get a repeat performance on the mound out of whoever they're going to start, they haven't announced that yet. Then this A&M offense, who scored 8 runs and now 10 runs, 18 runs in 2 games in Omaha, and they've done that without Dylan Rock, their best player, or their most productive offensive player, getting any hits. So you got to like that where A&M's offense is at in terms of run production. So if they can get some quality starting pitching, and limit the free base runners, that has absolutely killed them so far in Omaha. Mm-hmm. They're putting themselves in some really tight positions on defense just because they walk guys or they don't field a bunt or they kick a ground ball. Against Oklahoma, Jim Schlossnagle had 19 total free bases. I mean, 19 times the Aggies told the Sooners, you get to go to first base without doing anything. When you do that at this level, you're going to lose the baseball game. So they got to limit that, and you got to keep the offense kind of how it's been all year.
How about the relief pitching? Correct me on how to say his name. Is it Polish, the relief pitcher?
Polish.
And the moment with the star from Texas, Melendez. I mean, He was nuts and bolts in that game for Texas A&M.
Yeah, he's been that all year, and he has had some incredibly gutsy outings for the Aggies throughout their SEC slate. He's a Dallas-Fort Worth kid, as out of Richardson, but went to Stanford, wanted to come back home to his home state and finish his college career, and he's been by far A&M's best arm out of the bullpen from start to finish. And they've had some kids step up, Moo Menifee, Brad Rudis, Chris Cortez, Will Johnston. These are all kids that have really come on, and the bullpen has actually been pretty stinking good for the Aggies for the majority of the postseason. So it's about finding the hot hand in the starting rotation. They seem to have gotten that out of Micah Dallas. But what we saw to Jacob Polish yesterday is what we've seen him do for the entirety of the year for the Aggies. And to make those quality pitches, not only the Melendez, and everybody will remember the Melendez strikeout because really, guys, I thought Texas quit competing after that strikeout. Mm-hmm. I thought the game was over after that strikeout happened. But Polish made a really good pitch to strike out the Longhorn leadoff hitter Douglas Hodo, 2 hitters before, on a 2-strike pitch, and he threw a fastball in and froze Hodo with 2 men on. So, I mean, he was making quality pitches. I think he had 5 punch-outs in 2 2/3 innings, and was getting a lot of kind of easy routine contact whenever he was getting contact. It was a remarkable performance by him. It's something we've seen him do all year.
Ryan, have you been to this Rocco's bar in Omaha to do the Jello shot challenge, which I'm seeing all over Twitter?
No, we haven't. We were at a place called Lefty's, which was right next to it, where you can actually order pizza from Rocco's and have it delivered to Lefty's. But we have not been in there. They're charging $4.50 for those things, which I don't know how long it's been since either of you guys have had a Jello shot, but I don't think they cost $4.50 to make.
No. You can buy 12 boxes of Jello for $4.50.
Man.
So, and then I saw apparently an Arkansas fan who's not even in Omaha sent $2,200 to the bar to buy Jello shots just for Arkansas fans.
Wow.
I mean, we got to think of a better way. We got inflation. We got all kind of stuff going on in the economy. And we're going to spend $2,200 on $4.50 Jello shot.
Yeah. We could build
spend your money how you want to, I guess.
Yeah. We got schools and hospitals, and I mean everybody. Yeah, but we got Jello shots. All right.
Yeah. Call the Hogs, baby.
I'll just tell you, Ryan. I'm 42 years old, and if I took a Jello shot, there's nothing but judgment internally and externally.
Yes.
On on anybody seeing me do it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you explained that because I saw that total and it was like 600. And I was like, "There's no way." So yeah, somebody's sending $2,200. That makes sense. How that total got so high for the Razorbacks, but
it sounds like a lot of headaches to me.
Oh man!
Oh my God! Yeah. Thanks for your time, Ryan. Tomorrow, 1:00. It's Texas A&M and Notre Dame, the elimination game. The winner will get Oklahoma. Have to beat them twice. Thanks for your time. Have fun in my where I was born in Omaha. Enjoy the week. Ryan Brauninger from Texags.com, who covers A&M. Earlier today, we mentioned Auburn beat Stanford 6-2. What I also like about this tournament is how many of the teams that are still alive that weren't even ranked. Like Oklahoma's red hot. Notre Dame is red hot. Notre Dame, of course, has to now beat A&M. Ole Miss, red hot. Arkansas, red hot. It's interesting with Arkansas, their head coach was, I believe the coach at Nebraska when they were pretty damn good back before he moved on as an assistant coach, or I think the assistant coach or head coach at Nebraska, and now at Arkansas. Here they are playing tonight in the winner's bracket. The winner will get to have a chance to have a little bit of a break. We're now joined by John Hoover, covers Oklahoma, SI.com for many things as well. He, of course, covering the Sooners as well. John, they are on fire. They're doing everything. Their defense has been good. Pitching's nuts yesterday, crazy good. And obviously they're explosive on offense. Are they playing their best right now, Oklahoma?
Yeah, Smokey, they're playing their best. They're playing the best that they've played in probably almost 10 years. Last time at the College World Series was 12 years ago, and they're playing better than that team ever did. So this is fairly unprecedented, fairly unexpected.
With them being in the winners bracket, I mean, they're going to get A&M or Notre Dame again. Has their pitching's kind of set up perfectly, right? As far as the bullpen, the starters, everything they want to have happen has gone right as far as their roster, right?
So far, I don't know if I'd say their pitching is setting up perfectly. The two co-aces, the two guys that have pitched the best in this postseason, pitched well in Omaha. They both, Jake Bennett and Cade Horton, both pitched well, pitched great in Omaha. But now, what do you do? You know, now that you're going to have to go to a guy that was your third starter. He's been roughed up a couple of times in the postseason, or you might have to go to a guy you haven't used in a few weeks in the postseason. You might have to go to a long reliever. They don't really. Skip Johnson doesn't really know yet what the plan is. I think the plan is to pitch as many guys as he needs to pitch. But yeah, David Sandlin is going to start tomorrow or Wednesday, and he's had a little bit of a scuffling postseason. So that's not like their best plan, but it might be actually their best plan. I asked Skip Johnson today if he's going to. Call just dropped.
John, you there? John, we got you.
Oh, you there?
Yeah, we got you.
There we are.
Yeah, we lost you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. So I asked Skip today if Jake Bennett was available on Wednesday, and he said no. They're going to David Sandlin, and that's going to be the guy that they go with. They'll try to at some point get the long relief in there if they have to, and then turn it over to their closer.
So, John, I know Skip Johnson's been around for a few seasons now, but what has taken place to culminate into where they are in the position that they're in right now, knocking on the door of the College World Series championship potentially? What's been the process and the things that have stood out in terms of how he's brought the program to this point?
Yeah, it's really kind of ridiculous. And I asked him this question. It was the first story I wrote for the week, and that is everybody but everybody in every sport says, we're going to take it one game at a time, one pitch at a time, one inning at a time, whatever it is. And Oklahoma lives and dies by that, but it works. And it's like, okay, why are your guys buying into it and no other team in America, is buying into it? I'm curious about it. I don't know. I don't understand. They just they talk about living in the moment, and I'll tell you, you guys know this. Being in Waco, Augie Garrido, very, very Zen master kind of approach to the game. Very, holistic approach, and be in the moment, be where your shoes are, all that kind of stuff. Well, being a disciple of Augie, Skip Johnson has really kind of preached that to this team. And the thing is, they've bought in, and they've really bought in because a lot of the young guys have come into the lineup at this point. And when you've got a lot of young people that haven't heard the message for the past 3 or 4 years, maybe it sinks in a little more.
I was going to bring up the Garrido influence, but you just answered that question as well because of it. What's it been like to have the group of teams? I know some of them are gone. Texas is gone. Obviously, Oklahoma's already done what they've done, but to have Texas and A&M and Oklahoma and also Arkansas together.
Auburn.
What?
Auburn.
Well, I was bringing up those four because of just connections between those four. To have those four along with the others in Omaha, how kind of interesting has that been?
It has been interesting because you've got some Big 12 flavor, you've got some SEC flavor, you've got some future SEC flavor. It's been an interesting dynamic. Arkansas sure looks impressive. We're going to see what they're going to do tonight, but yeah, for the most part, I think everybody around here, maybe I shouldn't say everybody, speak for everybody, but I think a lot of people in this region are hoping for an Oklahoma-Arkansas National Championship Series. That would be kind of off the rails.
My God, would that be fun to watch?
Yeah.
That would be fun to watch. Thanks for your time, John. We appreciate it. I know you've been busy doing other things that you do covering Oklahoma, so thanks for your time and enjoy Omaha.
All right, guys. Have a great summer.
John Hoover from SI.com covers Oklahoma. He's been in Tulsa and now covers Oklahoma for what he does. He also has a Fan Nation site as well on his a part of his resume currently right now covering OU. Man, I tell you what, Skip Johnson was at Navarro College for a long time. And I'm not so sure. It probably was, I don't know if that was about the same time Chris Davis was there, who ended up playing with the Rangers, and then, of course, with the mini teams, Baltimore, and he's no longer in the league. But he's a famous name, great coach. And then he went to, imagine being able to learn under Augie Garrido. I mean, you can't get better than that. And, of course, Texas with the great names of Cliff Gustafson and then also Augie Garrido, basically back-to-back for many, many years.
Well, Augie Garrido, there's a great and it was Richard Linklater, the fantastic director who's done tons of great movies. Is a Longhorn guy, but he did a documentary on Augie, which was fantastic. And one of the cool things I always thought about Augie is he had a little bit of, to steal from another sport, that Tom Landry in him, where super serious but not a yeller. But when he did yell, he made it count.
You've seen the video of Garrido, right?
Yeah. But that was
in that.
Yeah, exactly. But that was a rarity. Like usually he was.
You'd think that was who he was. Yeah.
Yeah. The one famous video of Garrido just yelling and peeling the paint off the walls and yelling after the. I mean that was. But he knew that was what he needed to do in the moment, as opposed to somebody who yells all the time and eventually people think that's your base level and they just kind of ignore you. So yeah, Augie Garrido was kind of that. He was the Zen master of, looked at the game that Texas won in 2005 in the College World Series, where he pulled a guy off the bench that was like 0 for his last 25, and he's like, yeah, you're gonna go pinch hit, and the guy's like, me? He's like, Coach, I haven't gotten a hit, in a month, and he's like, go, you're due.
It's a gut feeling. Yeah, a gut feeling. All right. 5:35. We keep going here and then come back with top five.
Yeah, no, take a break.
We'll take a break. I got some more from you on the chat room. We appreciate that. Text line 254-339-1122. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Alan Samuels is having the Make the Switch sales event in June on the award-winning new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. In June, the special value is up to $7,000 or get $4,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary truck gives you that first-class feel. Alan Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports for Bayou Bull. I like how the Aggies try throwing shade at the Big 12 while pretending to have class. Hey, that yesterday was a big deal. And had they not won, you know what the responses would have been the other way around, which is kind of, well, the massive domination over the years. From Mike, I'm glad Oklahoma and Texas going to get bullied in the SEC like they bullied everyone else in the Big 12.
You know, I do think it was interesting listening to Ryan. Aggies fans are definitely not, I think for the most part, very excited about UT's addition, and I can understand why. But at the same time, you see that spice that comes with that rivalry. And, I don't know if I think at least early on it's obviously going to be a big deal, and I'm sure it'll always get steady ratings just because the state of Texas will always be invested. But it'd be really interesting to see how that rivalry kind of grows in the SEC. And, should have had it the last several years in the Big 12. Everyone's knocked the Big 12. The Big 12 didn't have Texas A&M at their disposal, because obviously things – went sideways where Aggies felt they needed to leave. So, as much as the Big 12 mishandled or whatever, there was a lot in their arsenal that they should have had that left because of problems with UT. And so, the SEC, I'm sure, will do a much better job because they've got more schools on that level and more powerful people to be able to, say, no, shut up and go sit in the corner. It's not your turn to talk right now, whereas they've never been told that before. So I think that will help matters. But, I understand, and Texas fans will take this as hating or whatever. I don't really care. I understand the Big 12 is going to make less money, and I understand that makes their future a little bit more uncertain. But I cannot wait to see it without Texas in there, because I do think it's going to be really interesting to see politically kind of how it changes and how the conference sort of, without that sort of watchdog bully or whatever you want to call it, and even Oklahoma to some extent, but having them out of the equation, constantly being the one that, we need to make this decision, but what are mom and dad going to say? That kind of thing, that's going to go out the window. And I think it's going to allow for, so much freedom for these schools to really operate more freely. Now, again, it's going to probably hurt in the pocketbooks.
No,
but
it will. Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, I understand that, but I do think there is going to be something to gain from it. And hopefully if those things all go the right way and that freedom is there and you put on a good product, that money will be made up somewhat to where it's not, an Achilles heel for you down the road.
Well, Texas joining the SEC ultimately was kind of the ultimate, 180 on them because they didn't believe that the good of the many outweighed the good of the one. And that's what the SEC believes, is that the good of the many outweighs the good of the one because they know that there's strength in numbers, which is why Texas and Oklahoma are going there, because it's strong not just because Alabama and Georgia and Florida are there, but because everybody there is strong, it's not just three schools. Everybody's got strong roots. Even if they don't win in athletics, they've got a plan together. They've grown this big SEC corporation into this, gigantic
Mississippi
behemoth.
State and Vanderbilt are just as important to the overall group.
Yeah.
Or they have so far.
And
if the Big 12 never had that.
Texas always operated as if they were like Notre Dame, a major independent. That was,
you're lucky to have us.
They were kind of operating as that. And truth be told, that maybe, they should have done that a long time ago in the SWC.
Yeah.
If that's what you wanted to do, go be a major independent, because if there's an athletic department in the country that can handle it and people would play them, they could, and they'd be in the conversation, they could have pulled it off. But they, politics got the better of them. And honestly, had Texas, I know all this stuff about Ann Richards and Bob Bullock and every political move they pulled behind the scenes, but had Texas really said, you know what, all this that you guys are doing is dumb. Why don't Baylor and why don't you let TCU take our place? Baylor and Tech can go and A&M can be in the Big 12. We're going to be a major independent. That's what we're going to do. And if Ann Richards said no, they could have been like, well, that was at the time where people didn't really look into things. Like if Rick Perry or Greg Abbott had tried to stop anything, but all the schools have been like, no, go back to your office. We've got this.
What they also are doing is because they can, and because they have a massive amount of clout, and they still will, but it will be a little bit different the way it's tossed around. And I look forward, as much as we look forward maybe to the new Big 12 once it actually is official and Texas and Oklahoma move on. Texas and Oklahoma, I think, are also, even though there's some fan bases that maybe don't want to do it, I don't know, this is kind of fresh air for them too. Maybe they needed it. Yeah.
No, it absolutely is. And again, it's not about Texas and their move or what. I'm just saying I'm looking forward to there not being this team that feels like they're above you the entire time and they're too good to be, aligned with you, because that's how it's felt for well over a decade in the Big 12. And for all the other schools, whether it be Baylor or Tech or TCU or West Virginia or Iowa State, they've all felt that at one point or another. They know that their opinion doesn't matter as much as UT's ultimately does. And my whole thing is, of course it's fresh air. I think Texas and OU are getting a fresh breath of a little preview, and they're excited and they're looking forward to all the new road trips. Of course, all the money that the fans aren't going to necessarily see outside of improvements and whatnot, but all of that's great. Like, I totally get their standpoint. My whole thing is just that I'm looking forward to there not being that we're too good for you, you're lucky that we're here, and you're going to miss us when we're gone attitude. No, I'm not. They might miss the money that goes with it, but I'm not they, so I don't care. I'm going to look forward to it not being as much of a you're just lucky to be here. Yep. I'm looking forward to a conference that's actually on the same page for once in the last 25, 30 years.
And one of the things that comes with that, the remaining 8 plus the new schools, the 4 schools, now everybody, and they know it, they all have to step up themselves and get bigger, better, faster, stronger, as much as they possibly can. From Jack Huffman, he goes, I wouldn't be surprised if Texas and OU do just fine in the SEC. Not that I'm a fan, but I think they'll be better than most think. And I do agree with that. I don't know about ripping off consecutive championships or whatever, but I think it will be a breath of fresh air for them. And I think if they're capable of it, I think both of them are. It won't be easy, and at times there'll be some bumps and bruises. From Juan, Huffman, I think you're right, but I also think it's possible the SEC teams bring their best game against those two, especially against Texas. Also from Oh, Wake, good to hear from you as well from Texas Tech.
I definitely think both can go and succeed. I mean, they're in the College World Series right now. They've had success in basketball at times. They're both expected to be good this year in football. I think, I don't have any delusions that like they're going to go there and they're both going to become irrelevant. When does a blue blood become irrelevant? I mean, the system doesn't allow for you to really become all that irrelevant.
Just had Michigan until this last year.
And it's like nothing ever changed, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, you never really fall out of that blue blood relevancy, even if you go years without being all that relevant. But, I think all the stuff is going to work well for them. Again, my only thing is just, it's going to take a hit of money for the Big 12. To what extent, don't know. But I do think it's going to be a fun and unique conference in its own right that maybe finally does have an identity that's not, we're just at the mercy of these two. Because that's what your identity has basically been for the last 2 decades, in my opinion. And that's going to change. And some of it will be for the worse, but I think a lot of that could be for the better.
And to play devil's advocate for Texas, I know that, it sounds like we're kind of dumping on them, but look, DeLoss Dodds was the first modern athletic director. He was the guy who was ahead of the curve on everything when it came to building a modern athletic department. He was brilliant. What happened eventually, though, was they took a big chunk with that Longhorn network, and that was kind of a bridge too far of like, look, we've acquiesced to all this other stuff. We can't do this here, especially when the SEC, across the way at the same time is saying, like, we're going to have a channel for all of us together to make our brand bigger, and not just one school. And that was the bridge too far, which ultimately pulled the plug on the Big 12 as we knew it. And but DeLoss Dodds built it to that way. It was everybody else who had to catch up. So, it was A&M's fault for a long time for making, old coaches and former athletes the athletic director and not getting a businessman who knew what he was doing in the modern era. It was Baylor's fault for not having a weight room that had more than 2 Nautilus machines for a long time. It was everyone else's fault for not looking at Texas and going, how can we do that? As opposed to, trying to match them. They've done that now, but, DeLoss Dodds wasn't wrong when he said, we are the Joneses.
No, he did.
He wasn't wrong.
He was right.
And he made them the Joneses.
Yeah, he was.
But
the problem is they started to believe that themselves.
Yeah.
Instead of, when he eventually moved on, of course, then they lost sight of it. They had some issues with who was running the athletic department and elsewhere. Hey, they're a hell of a school, man. Great university, great traditions. Maybe on the cusp of being even better if their football team can turn it around because everything else seems to be doing just fine.
Yeah, and I don't like the fact that we talk about them and we have to always throw out a disclaimer of like, it's like the only school that we have to do that with. And Oklahoma's not guilt-free in this. I mean, they made the same move Texas did, but they do get to kind of lurk in the shadows and let UT take all of the blame for the move. But I know, being from an OU family, that they're super excited and pumped up. There's a little bit of reservation about how well football is going to go ultimately, because it's not going to be the same kind of walk that you're having in the Big 12 and all the success you've had there. I mean, they're not going to go and win 7 straight SEC championships in football. I mean, that's not going to happen. So, they're in that same mix. It's not just Texas, and we're not even pointing out or blaming anything. Like I said, kudos to them for all the moves they're making. I'm just saying that it's going to be more fun for the Big 12 fan to not have to worry about the constant threat of, well, if you don't do what we want to do, we're going to leave. And if you don't do this, then this is what we want. There's just none of that anymore. And I don't think there will be that element of that in the SEC because, again, they'll be more surrounded by like-minded and as well-rounded schools. Whereas in the Big 12, they could look down on everybody. So that will be an interesting dynamic to not have that looking down and more of that equal eye-to-eye conversation in the Big 12. And that will be an interesting dynamic for those two schools to then go to a conference where, oh, yeah, you're also looking now in the eye. You're no longer looking down. You're looking in the eye of Alabama and Georgia and all these other schools that are on your level. And so it's going to be unique for both, but I think it'll be great for both. That's my whole point.
From Paxton, who's a UT fan, he starts to quote scores from back in the day, 62-0 of 2005. How many national titles does Baylor have? Who was the last Big 12 team to win a national championship?
Just perfect timing, dude.
Paxton,
Perfect.
You're actually
perfect, brother.
You're proving our point.
What did I just say 30 seconds ago? You have to talk about Texas. You have to put a disclaimer up and explain it so they can understand it.
And then if Saban retires at the end of the season, no, he does not. Stop. You're just listening to others who cover your school.
Nick Saban is never going to retire.
Just proved
He's just going to
we just
evaporate.
Mentioned. Oh, by the way, we appreciate your time. Sikkim 365 Radio and Paul's Top 5 is next.
And a big...
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Payments for qualified buyers are 2.9% for 72 with 5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details. Step up your ride at Richard Carr's Summer Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2018 GMC Sierra SLT, only $432 a month, or a 2017 Buick Encore for $183 a month, or GMC Acadia for only $280 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection. We pay top dollar for your trade, and 100% approval is always our goal. Find your next car or truck today at Richard Carr.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
In Texas, there's pea-size hail and baseball-size hail. Guess which one hit our house? We didn't even know where to begin, but we called our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent, and he was so reassuring. He knew exactly what to do to get our house back into shape and our lives back to normal. Now, we're even more thankful for the roof over our heads.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Okay. So, Craig, I dedicated today's Top 5 to you, my friend, because you did mention what you did earlier on the show last week about how, you know what, like, you don't have to be a pro team's ever done anything for you. I mean, they're not doing anything. And then Dan Snyder has effectively ended your Washington fandom. Heck, the name's even different. So now is as good a time and with as good a reason to jump ship as anybody. Now, I know that you probably won't pick another NFL team, but I thought it would be a fun exercise to go through and give you options in case you wanted to.
All right. Yep.
So let me preface this by saying I put more thought into this than I probably should have, but I had some time during the day today, and idle hands are the devil's workshop. So I'll start off by saying, look, there's 31 NFL teams that Craig could get, and I had to whittle this down to 5. So immediately I eliminated 15 teams, and that would be the rest of the NFC, because the NFC East is out. Because you can't do that. Like, that's just, the NFC North doesn't have teams that you would really want to jump on the bandwagon. Plus, and even if you want to jump on with the Packers, your personality and Aaron Rodgers to me doesn't jive enough for you to really jump there. The NFC South, the Buccaneers would be a front running, which is not your personality at all. And then the entire staff of the Carolina Panthers, but to jump on that team that could get fired
for now,
then that's it. Okay, and then the NFC West, your personality doesn't line up with San Francisco or Seattle. Los Angeles just won the Super Bowl, so that's also front running. So I had to eliminate all them. And then the owners in the Arizona give me a little bit of a Dan Snyder light feel at times. So we're into the AFC. So here's what I came up with. Top 5 teams for Craig. Number 5, the Kansas City Chiefs. And people don't know this about Craig because Craig's not a braggadocious individual or someone who does this, but Craig actually covered Patrick Mahomes in high school and broadcast his games and probably talked to him more than anybody on the broadcast because he was the sideline reporter. So I would think it would be a natural step over. Kansas City's got a nice warm fan base. They seem to have a good time. I know you only get to spend like 30 hours there when you went to the city for the Big 12 tournament, but the Kansas City Chiefs is my first pitch.
I think this would definitely classify as front running though, because of their success. But I actually, I really was like a kind of a Chiefs fan at one point when Joe Montana was there. I was still a Redskins fan, but I played on a Pop Warner team called the Chiefs, and Joe Montana was one of my favorite players, and he went to the Chiefs at the same time. And that I was like, that's my AFC team. Yeah. And that didn't last very long. He was gone shortly after, and so was my fandom, and I was never on the Chiefs again. But yeah, the front running aside, I'm a big fan of Patrick Mahomes, the human being as well as the player. And I was very fortunate to see him before a lot of people knew who he was outside of East Texas, and to see where he is now is incredible. So yeah, I could definitely root for them.
All right, number 4. The Tennessee Titans, great city, Nashville. They've got cool players like Derrick Henry right now. The coach Mike Vrabel's kind of a chill dude, even though he's in the Belichick tree. He seems kind of fun. Ownership is pretty bland as the owners go, which I think is a good thing. They try to win all the time. They're aggressive, and this is kind of a wild card. This is maybe the safe pick right here, the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. I think the Chiefs would be above them, and not even just because of the winning. I just prefer kind of the other, I guess, intangibles with the Chiefs, from Mahomes to just the color scheme and things like that. But Tennessee's just, I don't know. I don't really have a strong feeling for them one way or the other. So yeah, they'd be kind of a wild card.
They're
just kind of there.
They're your safety school. I get it. Like, I'll ask this girl if the hot one doesn't tell me yes. Yeah, that kind of a thing. That was.
If they were the Oilers, I'd be more apt to root for them. Honestly.
Yeah, I took the Texans out of it because come on.
Yeah, I don't want to root for the Texans.
No. Number 3. The Baltimore Ravens. See, Smokey, this one I think is easy because you just move right across the border into Maryland, and the Ravens are the exact opposite of what Washington is. They have a really brilliant owner who's really consistent. They draft well. They sign good free agents. They don't mess around. Their owner talks to people. He's good in the community. People love him. If he asks them for a new stadium, do you want 4 new stadiums? You can play. You can just rotate through them. Well, give them wherever you want. The city of Baltimore loves them. So this one to me, and they're just kind of a common sense team. Like, they do things based on common sense, which is how Craig, his whole life experience is. He's very much driven by common sense and not wild fits of emotion. So I thought the Ravens were a good fit for him.
Yeah, that's definitely a team I would have no problem rooting for. I do feel as though I'll have a hard time ever really jumping onto somebody in real life and just becoming a fan. But if I had to, the Chiefs would be a great choice. But yeah, I have nothing but immense respect for the Ravens organization and how they operate. And you're right when you say they're basically the complete 180 from Washington and how they operate in every pretty much single way that I can think of, from draft to just ownership and all that, and I don't know their whole history, so I'm sure there's something I'm probably missing. But yeah, I have nothing but immense respect for the Ravens, and it would have made my fandom a whole lot easier if that just would have been the side that my great great grandma Mamie, what is my relation to her?
Grandmother.
Yeah, my great grandmother would have picked if they would have been around at that time, maybe she would have been a Ravens fan, but.
Yeah.
Alas.
Number 2, the Buffalo Bills. Look, in the glory days of the Washington Redskins, the vibe of the fans seems to me to jive with Bills Mafia a little bit. And they're a fun team to root for. People love them. The city is small as NFL cities go. Ownership that cares. They're doing everything they can to make their fan experience cool. I think kind of another team that's opposite of Washington, even though they had kind of a long drought for a little while.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of respect for Buffalo as well. And, here they are. They're back and as relevant as ever right now. And definitely grew up, would not have wanted to be a Bills fan just because of the heartache that came with that at the end of the year 4 times. But, they're an institution and a great fan base, like you said. I don't know about the cold weather. I don't jive with that very well, but I think I don't really have a choice because KC's cold, Washington, Baltimore, all that. But yeah, I feel like I'd be front running a little bit here as well. If I would have picked them up like 5 years ago, that would have been a great future move.
Yeah.
But now I do feel a little guilty about front running.
A team to be named later.
Yeah, exactly.
And number 1, and Smokey, I think you can agree with me on this one. This is the LA Chargers. Craig is his most relaxed that we've ever seen him when we're in Southern California.
Yep.
They're not the Rams. They're a young team that's on the rise. JT
great
quarterback, great quarterback.
Actually.
I mean, this is a team that, I can see, look, color scheme's cool and different.
Yeah.
And, look, the owner, Dean Spanos, up and down. But overall, I think the Chargers for you is a nice fit.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought of them. I thought you were going to put probably the Jaguars on here because of Tony Khan, but that would be the wrong time. He cannot run a wrestling promotion. But anyways, LA Chargers. That's not somebody I necessarily would have thought of right away, but I'm with you from the color scheme to the location to JT Woods, being a big fan of his. Great young quarter. Yeah, the Chargers would be a very good choice for me to switch my fandom if I were to do such a thing.
Yeah, you're moving all the way across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's different.
I do feel better when I'm out on the West Coast. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. But that's all very good. I do like those choices, Paul, and who knows? But I am definitely. I don't know if I'll have a new team that I root for, but I am so just not on board with Daniel Snyder and his ownership of Washington right now. I'm so over it. But we do need to mention before we go.
Yeah, in fact, Garrett, put that up if you can, if you have it. Craig's about to notice. Put this up.
Thank you, Paul, for that. But major news in college football coming out over the last 20 or so minutes. Reuben Owens, big time, 5-star running back, who was thought to be, a Texas lean at various points throughout his recruiting process. Young man from El Campo. He is now committed to Louisville. So young Texas 5-star running back from El Campo, class of 2023, had offers from everybody in state, Aggies, Longhorns, everybody, Alabama, everybody. And he picks Louisville. So quite a shocker there, and a massive pickup for the Cardinals.
And here's the thing: this might have been NIL related, but the big NIL collective with Louisville hasn't officially started yet. They're starting it, but they're not there. So
yeah, it's a shocking deal, though. I think most crystal balls, as they call them, whatever it is, right, Garrett, that all had Reuben Owens going to Texas, and the response, of course, has been what? This can't be real, or this won't stick, or whatever, or it's NIL. Well,
I know they had a very good time, it seemed like, at the Louisville recruiting visits this weekend. There's a whole party atmosphere from the little clips I saw, and I'm sure he must have enjoyed that. He's committing today, but they must have shown him a good time, and I'm sure NIL comes into play somewhat here. I think we'd be naive to think that it didn't, at all, but that's shocking in a crazy kind of fun way, unless you're, I guess, a Texas or whoever else was in the running for him fan and you really wanted him. But hey,
especially with a coach who's on thin ice.
But what a pickup for the Cardinals.
It has blown away most of the college football fan bases. Of course, it's interesting when a lot of people are involved in NIL when they go, wait a minute, that has to be an NIL deal. Well, when someone like Reuben Owens, most likely it is, and we'll see how that works out. Still a long way to go, but he's a dog. Bryson Washington's an alpha dog from Franklin. He committed to Baylor. Jaron Woods from LaGrange.
Yeah.
Committed to Baylor. We had Grayson on that. Thanks to Levi Caraway, Emery Winter, Jack McKenzie, also Garrett Ross, our incredible sponsors. Every single one of you. We had a great day today on the chat room and also text line. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching, listening. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.